Did something happen to my child by that time? And if so, what happened?
This is an incredibly distressing investigation, and the information we are going to provide today is particularly confronting.
This man has been accused of abusing several children at a childcare centre in Melbourne. Joshua Brown has been charged with more than 70 alleged offences relating to the abuse of 8 children. Police say the alleged victims were between 5 months and 2 years old.
What police are saying, they discovered child abuse material. We don't know yet how or why, and police have been really reluctant to release that information because the investigation is ongoing. But he also worked at 20 childcare centres from January 2017, so it is a major investigation at the moment.
As part of the investigation, authorities have recommended 1,200 children be screened for sexually transmitted infections. The parents of those children are terrified.
I feel sick, I really do, and I just need some sort of level of certainty to know that my son wasn't in the room, that he was.
Did something happen to my child? That question will haunt me for the rest of my life.
Parents are rightfully pretty angry. The Premier probably said it best when she said it was every parent's worst nightmare.
My heart just breaks for the families who are living every parent's worst nightmare.
They're frightened, their imaginations are going a little bit wild because their children are so young and they're so vulnerable, and they were put in a place where they were supposed to be safe. People were trying to work out what was going on, trying to get through to the hotline, get through to the childcare centres, and a lot of people actually found out about what had happened through the media. So I think it was quite a frightening time for parents, as you can imagine.
This was an unusual case in that Brown's identity is no longer a secret.
In this scenario, the police were actually the ones that applied for the suppression order and then applied for it to be lifted. Joshua Brown did not apply to suppress his own identity, but it's been lifted, and not only lifted, police have released the name and, a lot of information about him, which is really, really unusual in this case. But it is because of this public health response and because of how many children potentially have been exposed to this man.
This is unique. It's very important to ensure that every parent out there that has a child in childcare knows who he is and where he worked. This may be families who had a child at the centre where he worked, or even staff that worked alongside the person.
Politically, we can probably anticipate a few changes. Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen said they've undertaken a rapid review to improve regulation in the sector. And the Federal Education Minister, Jason Clare, said they were working to bring in legislation in Parliament in the next few months to cut off funding from any of the childcare centres that didn't reach required standards.
There is national reform work underway, but as the Premier said, it is frustratingly slow, and this is something we have expressed over the past months and weeks, and certainly something that I expressed last Friday. We need to see tangible outcomes sooner.
But also lawyers have come out and said that this just highlights a very clear need for change.
Clearly, this should never have been allowed to happen. So we're really interested in understanding how this person had the opportunity to offend as has been alleged.
Oop, hang on, wrong page. And good afternoon, good evening, and good night, people, and welcome back to the Aussie Overlaw'd channel. Wish we were under better circumstances. I know I've been away for a bit, and I kind of wish this wasn't the time that I was able to be streaming. But the last 2 weeks, as I'm sure any number of you can understand, have been quite a bit of a whirlwind, and we've had some bigger fish to fry, if I'm perfectly honest. I don't quite know how I've been keeping it together, and I have no idea how the lovely lady who's going to be joining me tonight has been keeping it together better than most than I would have thought. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my lovely wife on.
Oh, shit, that's not a... That wasn't flattering at all, was it?
Do you want me to come out and reposition the camera, or are you...
That's fine, I'll fix it up.
Okay. So ladies and gents, what we're going to be doing tonight is, I'll be perfectly honest, and I do apologise if it in any way seems a little bit egotistical of us, but there's been significant newspaper articles, television appearances, all that sort of stuff over the last 2 weeks. This stream is both for our benefit, both my wife and I personally, and for the ability for us to collate the various news articles and, as I said, television appearances and all that sort of stuff. And sort of, well, bad as it sounds, Mel's been on TV quite a bit over the last 2 weeks as a result of this, because we do again, without trying to toot our own horns, we do feel like we're both in a position of being able to advocate for these kids. Where we're basically, as we actually said it to one of the news channels, is that we feel like we're in a position where we can do it, particularly me with my background being on YouTube and that sort of thing. And it means that, for example, the families of the 8 confirmed kids, well, allegedly confirmed kids that have been allegedly offended against, they don't have to. They can focus on what they need to. But basically, we're going to be going through looking at the news articles that have come out over the last 2 weeks from when I last did my last stream, and we'll be looking at the news coverage. So my volume is super low. Right, so the one time that I actually try and make it so that I'm not blowing everyone's ears out, because I know how bad it was on the last stream. All right. Hopefully I'm not blowing anyone's ears out if I move it up to 75%. So, oh, hang on, what's this? Do I have audio issues? Thank you.
I tried.
To be honest, I generally rely on chat to tell me if I'm boomering the hell out of stuff, so that's all fine. To whatever you guys need to, we're here to support. Very much appreciate that, Viking Buddha. All on the volume, much better? Okay, all right. So as you saw from the opener, I just wanted to give the brief overview of where we are. For those of you that are new or that are not actually of the understanding of what has actually happened, here in Victoria, it's become known that a childcare worker at the daycare where our daughter spent 4 of her 5 formative years has been arrested and charged with over 70 offences against children, including... Screw it, I'm going to use the proper language because I did get cussed out by a certain other YouTuber the other day. Sexual molestation of children, sexual penetration of children under the age of 16, spreading of bodily fluids allegedly, and I do have to be very clear, although that there is supposedly footage of these 8 kids that were able to be verified, I am still having to say alleged because, as we know here on this channel, guilty until proven, innocent until proven guilty. The law? Shut up.
Might as well be.
If I didn't boom, would it really be me? This is a good point. And obviously, we're going to have some things to say about both the authorities and the childcare centre's operations. We have no intention of saying anything defamatory before anyone gets their knickers in a twist. We will.
I'll try.
We'll be giving opinions based on our own personal interactions with individuals, our own personal opinions, and our own Lady Overlaw'd cook. Yeah, it's been a rough couple of weeks, sweetie. How have you been handling things? I know you've thrown yourself very, very much into the advocacy side of things, where surprisingly, I actually realize that Lady Overlaw'd is currently more famous than I am here on Australian TV. More than a little jealous, not going to lie, but
Yeah,
still unbalanced. Turn her up, turn me down. Turn her down, me up. Okay, I'll see what I can do. See, she's using a I've never used before, so...
How do I turn myself down?
You don't. I can control it on my end.
Oh. I'm not generally overly loud.
This is true.
I don't have blood pressure issues like some do.
Not so much. You're famous to us. I was like, oh, thank you. So yeah, so let's just run through for everybody how things started. I was at work, you were working from home, and you got the email.
I got a text message that I thought was spam.
Right.
So I got text message first. Mind you, I'm trying to do 8 things at once at that point. Get a text message, and that it just thought it was literally spam. And then was proceeding to check my emails a couple of hours later and saw an incredibly lengthy email that was very just confusing in how it was all written and worded. And again, I'm trying to do 8 things at once. So I'm like, right, I'll send it to my husband and I'll title it WTF. And then I'll let him figure it out.
And that's basically how I got it, because I got the email from Lady Overlaw'd and I saw the WTF and I'm like, okay, what's this about? So I open it up, I'm looking through it, and I'm just, surprisingly, with all the stuff that I pulled up, it did not occur to me to pull up either of the emails. Which, by the way, people, we're almost 3 weeks into this, and we've had, 2 emails total from the childcare centre?
Well, from the childcare centre itself, we've had 3 emails.
Okay, I may not have seen the third one.
The third one was about the rest of the frickin' investigations that was done. That was the third one. That was the third one.
Okay, so I must have missed the second one, the interim one.
The first one was them defending themselves.
Yep.
And then the second was the stupid half-assed way of saying, oh, apologies, you can book in for play therapy. That was the second email.
Oh, that was okay. So that was them offering the therapy.
As a way to improve their stocks, because their bloody stock market had crashed, their shares. So they were probably trying to do. No, that is factual.
I know, but we have to actually back that up. I mean, how much did they actually drop by? 25% or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, see, and that's all I'm saying. If we're going to make statements like that, we have to back it up with the actual facts, okay?
Oh my God.
Yes, I know this is difficult, sweetheart. Play therapy, F them. Oh, no, and look, to be honest, the way that it's been handled both by the childcare centre and the government authorities that are supposed to be involved in this, in my personal opinion, has been entirely reprehensible. Do you want to tell them about the $5,000 payment that they've been offering people?
Oh, well, apparently I'm not allowed to call it hush money, but really that's what it is. It's basically here.
In your opinion?
Yes, in my opinion, it's like, here's $5,000 now, shut up and go away.
Yeah, so basically, and that's being handed out to, correct me if I'm wrong, was that for all of the 12, well, I mean, it's actually now almost 2,000 kids that have had to be tested.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that. Originally, people, if you watch the last video, you'll know that Scarlett was one of 1,200 that had to be tested for STIs. In the last 2 days, it's come out that he was actually at another 4 centres, and they've recommended an additional 800 kids be tested.
Over now.
So
it was 830, and that's when there were 3 centres, and then they came out with an additional centre, bringing it to 4. So that 830 would have gone up. So it's probably now closer to another 1,000.
Yeah. So it just, you know what, my emails aren't opening, so I'm not going to bother with that. Just because it's not worth it, I don't think, just for me to bring up the original email. When we get to the point of the email that they sent that triggered everything off last weekend, then I'll try and bring that one up, because I think I've got that on different emails. But how about we just start getting into some of the actual TV coverage, and then we'll go from there. Because people, just so you're aware, when we get towards the end of this video, there are 4 or 5 different news articles in the last 2 days that neither I nor Mel have actually looked at. I know that there's additional information that's come out in the last 48 hours that is new to us. Where is he? In jail trial. So he is in jail, being held in solitary in the Barwon prison down towards Geelong. He is
for his own protection.
He's supposed to be appearing before the court on 15th of September. Having spoken to other lawyers, and Mel has also, I believe, he spoke to one of the lawyers also. The odds of anything moving ahead on that date are pretty slim, is my understanding. More likely than not, given that things are still being discovered basically on a daily basis at this point, even though we're almost 3 weeks after the fact, news information seems to be coming out every day. odds are Victoria Police are going to turn around and say, no, we need more time because this is still an active, ongoing investigation. So there's a good chance that nothing will be happening there. It'll get kicked down the road probably another month, maybe 2, and then we'll
Probably
have to
at
see there.
least.
So he doesn't get boiling water poured on him like the Gold Coast guy. No comment. Can you just imagine how scared he is and how many people are that really hate him? Nope. I wish I could feel any sort of sympathy, but I'm failing to.
I'd like to throw in a comment here, but I actually don't think I'm allowed, so I probably shouldn't.
How about you just take Bush's comment there and be happy about it? Okay. There we go. Oh, all right. Now, I am going to be pulling up these various videos. We will have to actually stop and talk occasionally so that we don't do copyright crap. That's Stingy dropping a super chat. Appreciate that. Need to send info to people like Betty, Delay, and Unsub guys. They'd help get even more eyes and information. Possibly they dig Buffalo School. Okay. Well, I mean, look, guys. Just so I can clarify as well. Pretty much, it sucks that something this horrible had to be what pulled a bunch of the people from LawTube in to have a common goal. But pretty much across the board, everyone's reached out and said, hey, what can we do? And I've said to everyone, look, at this point, we're still waiting for the active investigation. After that, I mean, I don't think I can speak for Lady Overlaw'd here, but once we reach a certain point, I'm personally out for blood. I kind of feel like Lady Overlaw'd's already there.
I already was. I bet you to that.
So... it's not sympathetic. I hope he's scared. I hope there are a few fathers in there with him. Well, I only hope.
There probably are.
No. All right.
We begin with one of the most distressing child sex abuse investigations in Victoria's history. Hundreds of children are tonight awaiting urgent test results over fears they've been infected by an alleged pedophile daycare worker. The suspect, who's been employed at 20 centres across Melbourne, is accused of abusing multiple babies and toddlers and even contaminating their food.
Keep in mind, this is the first news segment that Lady Overlaw'd and I saw, aside from the fact that when I was at work and she sent me that email, I then did a quick Google search and my entire feed was just covered in news articles. As far as I'm aware, the news had known for a good hour or so before the emails really even started going out.
They told me that there was a press release first thing that morning. All the media attended a press release, and then it just went out.
The press conference, and I wound up watching that, listening to that on the way home, because for those of you that know, I immediately left work and went home to be with my wife and daughter, and I was less than impressed that that's how that hit the media. I genuinely believe that this information should have been provided significantly sooner. They knew. What was it, 1 or 2 weeks prior? Because the parents that they contacted were put under a suppression order for a good 14 days, wasn't it?
No, it was a week. So they notified the parents that were directly affected 1 week prior to it being released to everyone else, and they were under a suppression order.
I'll be honest, I'm not happy with saying the parents that were directly affected. Because I do feel that kind of cheapens, not that I'm saying anything against you, sweetheart. I'm saying I feel like that cheapens everything else, because, guys, the only reason that he's only facing these charges in relation to those 8, my understanding is that they are the 8 where there were recordings or photos taken, and that's really that's really the most disturbing thing for us, is that we're never gonna know one way or another.
And that's why there were 1,200. That's why there was 1,200 families that were so distraught, because exactly as you said, we don't know what other footage there might have been that couldn't be identified, or potentially what else had happened where there wasn't footage that existed at all.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, we don't know if there is additional images or footage that the kids are unidentifiable from, and they're just unable to distinguish people. We don't know if there are photos of our little girl, whether her face is in them or not, circulating on the dark web right now. We just don't know. So sorry this happened to you and your family. It's very traumatic. Even if nothing happened to your daughter, the thought of something happening is so overwhelming. Honestly, Ken, it really is. And that's, kids need some kind of therapy just in case something did happen. Oh my God. Well,
how?
Yeah, that's really the problem. I mean,
for your everyday working family, how are they supposed to provide that for their children? How are they supposed to provide that for their families? Psychological treatment in Australia is incredibly difficult to access, and it's also very expensive. So for the standard person, that might be out of reach. And I'm sorry, but they're doing nothing to try and provide that support to the parents or the kids.
I am very disappointed with the way that that's being handled as well. Our doctor, our personal GP, has been incredibly helpful, been very supportive. He was supposed to be the doctors assisting these kids were supposed to be contacted sometime this week with details of where the kids and the families could go to dedicated centres to be able to receive assistance and therapy. He was apologetic to us because he'd received no information whatsoever. He has dealt with more than just us because he's the local GP. He's had other kids apparently where they've been involved. Are you vaping?
No, I'm drinking.
I'm sorry, that just caught me off guard. But as you'll see as we go through the news articles and stuff, the way that it's being swept under the rug, in my opinion, or downplayed, are it's reprehensible. It really is. So probably not enough staff as in psychologists. No, look, you're probably not wrong there, Katie. I kind of feel like, as horrible as it sounds, I kind of feel like the kids that were in direct contact with him that were under his care for a prolonged period probably should go a little higher on the priority list, as bad as it sounds, Not taking new patients is insane. Oh, yeah. Bush, I don't know if that's in reference to my last comments about it, but the morning that all of this happened, the next day after we found all this out, we went to a walk-in clinic to try and get the testing done and that sort of thing. It was 11 a.m. and I walked in and I was turned away and they said, no, sorry, we already have too many patients. You'll have to come back tomorrow at 11 a.m. in the morning. A center that has, 6 or 7 doctors usually working? And it was completely booked out for the rest of the day, right through until 6 o'clock. So, place center should foot the bill for any of the therapy or the family's needs. Well, we're going to get to that. As in regards to Buru not taking... Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough.
What should be a sanctuary for our children, now one of multiple childcare centres, caught up in a shocking abuse investigation.
I can only imagine the unbearable grief and pain the affected families are experiencing right now.
I can't deal with her. Even 2 weeks later, I can't deal with that woman's face.
Suck an egg.
Joshua Brown has been charged with 70 offences, including rape. Assaults committed against 8 alleged victims aged between 5 months and 2 years old, all in the care of an early learning centre at Point Cook. Additional charges haven't been ruled out.
The investigation is ongoing, so I'm not sure where that will lead us at this point in time.
And look, to be fair, investigation is ongoing. It's 3 weeks later. Vic Police's line is exactly the same. They haven't wavered for obvious reasons. They're not commenting on anything while there is an ongoing investigation. And the fact that, as I said, new information seems to be coming out daily, I'm not expecting much information out of them at all, frankly.
Victoria Police fought to reveal the accused rapist's identity to parents. A suppression order was lifted at 8 o'clock this morning, revealing the 26-year-old as the accused sexual predator.
This is unique. It's very important to ensure that every parent out there that has a child in childcare knows who he is and where he worked.
Police have records of the man working at 20 different childcare centres between 2017 and 2025.
Now, keep in mind, this is the news as it happened 3 weeks ago. The number of changes that have had to have been made to this list, including adding 4 other centres, removing 1, and all that sort of jazz, which, to be fair, you can't expect them to get everything right on the first day. But the fact that it took them a week and a half to add 800 kids to that list is disturbing.
Most of them in Melbourne's west. The state government has set up a website with precise details for concerned parents. As soon as the news broke, parents rushed to pick up their children from affected childcare centres.
Did something happen to my child? That question will haunt me for the rest of my life.
Brown wasn't known to police before officers raided his home. He had a valid working with children.
Do you want to say it or should I?
You can do the honours.
He was known to police, just not for sexual offences against kids. He was known to police for physical violence against kids whilst working at childcare centres.
No, whilst working at the childcare centre that our daughter attended.
Yes, whilst working during the time where, working at the same centre where the alleged acts took place that have been recorded and that will hopefully see him behind bars for many, many years. Oh, Jem, like I said, a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks. We're just getting started.
Children's check that has since been revoked. One of his co-workers spoke to 7 News this afternoon.
Generally, a nice person, comes across as a very nurturing and involved educator. He was very engaging with the children.
She went on to reveal when Brown was asked about his experience as a male in the childcare industry, he hinted he'd faced an internal investigation on a previous occasion.
He said that he had been accused and was investigated, but obviously there was no evidence at the time.
The case has triggered a major health response. More than 2,000 families informed of the allegations in a letter. 1,200 children recommended.
Actually, love, I think that's still on the kitchen counter. Do you want to quickly run and grab that but not show our address?
Okay.
Look, don't worry about it.
What? No, I just have to...
While she's doing that, very sorry to hear about what you're all going through. Cannot imagine what you're going through. This way this happens, absolute bullshit. My heart with you and always. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's been one hell of a freaking roller coaster. It really has. Been wondering how you've been doing. Also wondering how this map hasn't ended up on a wall yet. Dunno. Honestly, the terms and services of YouTube and my bar license basically preclude me from wishing harm upon anybody. Sorry, I'm just curious to how she's going to manage this. Oh, thank you, Jill. Appreciate it. Yes, each state does have its own police force, and we have the federal police as well. Sorry, I did mean to grab that one. And actually, there was a star comment here too.
All right, how do you want me to show this?
Probably just fold it over without so that the top part that's got our address on it isn't showing.
Or do you want me to read
just so we
it?
can show that we received that particular letter.
Oh, right, okay.
Fold the top third. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so that's that specific letter there. Okay, you can put it down now, sweetheart.
Bloody hell. Go and do this. Go and do this. All right, you can put it down now.
Also, there was a comment here from Mel. Lady Overlaw'd, it's haunted me seeing your little girl's face on TV. Don't know if you'll recognize my name, but I knew you a lifetime ago. Sending much love, little miss, and AOL. I'm guessing this is someone that you knew a while ago. So.
Hi, Mel. Yes. I remember.
What was that? Let Ricada do it for me. So sickening as a teacher. I care about my students like they are my own, and to see someone in a position of trust do something so maddening. Yep. Stop being rude, Aussie. I'm totally on Lady Overlaw'd side. Of course you are, Beth. You're on everyone's side but mine. We know this.
To be tested for possible exposure to infectious diseases.
Yeah, see, that was one thing that really annoyed me as well. Because when all this came out, I mean, we didn't get that letter until it was in the post like 4 or 5 days after all this was announced. And I think you and I looked at each other when they said, oh, yes, we've notified people by email, by text message, and by letter. And we were both like, could you imagine receiving this information via letter in the post?
Yeah.
After the news is like... But... the fact that they only advised us to test for 3 things: syphilis, chlamydia, and gonorrhea. I don't know about you, but I was so happy when the doctor recommended a full blood work panel for pretty much all the STIs that could have been a possibility.
Yeah, but then they left out syphilis from the text message that we got afterwards.
Which is weird, because that seemed to be the one that the doctor was the most worried about. Like, when we went in to get the results, that seemed to be the one that he showed the most concern about. And he said, thankfully, that one was all clear.
Mm.
Person would be more mad at the guy hiring him than who did it. Oh, Rich, just you wait, buddy. Because, yes. Yes, they did leave out quite a lot. Can't help but think that they'll only offer support to the people that scream the most. That's how the system works. That is unfortunate, yes.
Well, we're about to do a whole lot of screaming, that's for sure.
Sorry for Hayden's demanding nature. These YouTube stars can't be controlled. Thank you, AP.
You wish he was a star.
Oh, tell me about it. Isn't
Come
syphilis
on,
a
I'm more
separate
famous
test?
than you now.
Shut up. She had to have multiple tests. So. Did any of the 8 known victims get an STD? If 6 out of 8 did, then I suppose the odds of molestation might be... No, see, the trouble is, Rich,
No.
and that's why the negative tests have been no comfort to us whatsoever. So far, I don't believe there's been any positive tests amongst any of the kids, including the 8 where there's video or photographic evidence. It's purely just that presumably he was positive for them at one point. And because he allegedly put genetic material into kids' foods, allegedly, it was a precautionary matter, but it's still something that no one should ever have to do for their kids. Ever. Seem to hide, delay, and downplay a hell of a lot. Yep.
This is a horrible, confronting, distressing situation, and this adds a more distressing element to it.
The state's chief health officer wouldn't detail the specifics of the infectious disease, but did...
That rubbed me right the fucking wrong way, too. He refused to name the STIs during the press conference. Like, that's how bad they were trying to sweep certain things. Because for those of you that missed the previous stream, we had to call up a dedicated hotline to find out what blood tests we had to go and get our daughter to take. Like, that's how ridiculous it was. And that hotline, as you can imagine, with 1,200 people having received these messages, and a whole bunch of people that were probably freaking out that didn't receive the messages calling the hotline. I mean, we were both on hold for different times for 2 hours. And it was what, 2.5 hours when you finally got through that evening?
2 hours, yes. 2 hours on hold.
Yeah.
stress, it was one that could be treated using antibiotics. The health department anticipates the testing could take days or even weeks.
7 News can reveal parents were told to test for chlamydia and gonorrhea. Police believe his offending included acts that may have contaminated food.
This will be felt far beyond those immediate families that are affected.
Joshua Brown will front court in September. Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
So at this point, we also had no idea what the reference to the food was. We were told to go and get our daughter tested, and we thought that's because they were trying to work out whether or not alleged sexual incidents had occurred. But it turns
that was sort of the
out
inference that we were led to, was that if anything had happened, then the kids would potentially test positive. But it
turns out that that's not why they were doing these tests. It's because this person was working in the kitchen in various childcare centres and allegedly, yeah, I'm not stupid, allegedly has been contaminating the food with his bodily fluids.
Now, whether or not that was purely just while he was making food in the childcare centres or if he brought food from home, I've heard both instances. Don't know if there's any weight held to either of them as of this point, but he has officially been charged, so I believe that there may be photographic or video evidence that they're relying on for that. All right, so I don't think either of us saw this one. So this was a current affair covering it that first week too.
We heard Joshua Brown was arrested on 70 sickening child sex charges. One of the burning questions was how? How could someone accused of such a long list of horrendous crimes ever be working with children? Then we found his resume. It reveals childcare centres are not the only places Brown has worked closely with children.
This is what helped Joshua Dale Brown get work at around 20 daycare centres across Melbourne over the last 8 years, including this one, the Creative Garden Early Learning Centre in Point Cook.
I still can't. Every time I see the image, like the photo or whatever else of that building, I'm still sick to my stomach. I don't think I'm ever going to want to drive out to Saltwater Coast ever again.
No, absolutely not. No.
In the city's southwest. This 5-page document has a glowing career history, including endorsements from a number of referees. On paper, he ticks all the boxes of an early childhood educator you would trust with your children.
And who we unfortunately did trust, and who very nearly wormed his way into our household. Sorry, it's a current affair. I've got to stop every now and then, otherwise I'm going to get the copyright warning.
This is the one that they were going to get me on for, this one.
Oh, was this one, was it?
Yeah, to comment on the resume.
So this was originally where you were going to be. Okay.
Discovered he's been working around young children in a number of sectors for years.
This is Dance Network, a Hoppers Crossing dance studio specialising in classes for preschoolers. Their website displays a child safety strategy, including the appointment of a child safety officer. According to his resume, he's worked here since 2016, dealing with parents at the front desk, as well as assisting at local dance competitions and concerts. He was also a regular at nearby Shindo Karate from 2013 to 2017.
Now, I should specify the stuff about the karate is disputed. I'm not sure if it just meant that he lied on his resume, but the karate studio, I believe, has turned around and said, no, he didn't actually work for us.
Does that say he currently holds a black belt?
Yep.
Oh, fuck off. I could have taken that man fuck right off. You can shove that where the sun don't shine.
At being a black belt and weapons instructor. He claims to have helped teach the Little Ninjas and junior classes, which cater to kids aged from 4 to 6. A current affair is not suggesting Brown has done anything wrong while employed at either Dance Network or Shindo Karate. But given the ordeal parents at 20 different daycare centres are now going through, Brown's background is a key question for many families.
How has he worked at so many childcare centres? Like, how is he getting around that, you know?
Make Lady Overlord say Aussie slang, chat demands it. $100 on Mrs. Overlord. There you go. Bish wants you to say Drongo.
Can I ask what a Drongo is first?
Okay, I'm revoking your Aussie card. It's Aussie for
Hang on.
dickhead, babe. How do you
I've
not
got
know
some
that?
I've got some fantastic Aussie shit to say after, but we'll say it after. So hang around and I'll make it worth your while.
Okay, let's at least wait for the 2-hour mark before you drop the C-bomb, okay?
Oh no, I've got better shit than that.
Okay, there you go.
In the 5-page document, he lists his qualifications, including a current working with children's card, and describes himself as someone who loves helping others. He claims that honesty, resilience, integrity, and empathy are attributes he brings to any role. Under his employment history, he lists skills like providing a clean and healthy environment for children, keeping records of children's progress, routines, and interests, working one-on-one with children with special needs, monitoring the safety of children, assisting with meal times and snack time, helping children keep good hygiene.
See, the trouble, Rich, is that there has been things, and now we are picking up on things and we're second-guessing a lot of stuff. But at the same time, we're also being careful with whether or not we are influencing our own opinion of things. Because we don't want to see ghosts, basically, where nothing exists. But at the same time, we're being very careful. I mean, it was roughly around the time that she started at... Well, I mean, no, it was midway through when she was there that we were recommended by a pediatrician to put her on melatonin to help her with some sleeping issues that she's had. We didn't put 2 and 2 together at that time. Aside from
It
that...
was also the time where she started waking up with night terrors.
Yeah.
Which, again, can be reasonably common with young children, but it can also be reasonably common in children where there's also been trauma as well. So it's like one of those things where I don't know what's a sign and what's not a sign.
Changing nappies of infants and toddlers, and claims to be a positive influence on the children by setting a good example and interacting with them to nurture their confidence and self-esteem by giving each child individual attention and comfort during the day. The resume also contains a number of referees, people who he presumably thought would speak highly of him and
Who
vouch
are
for
they?
his work ethic.
Fuck me, that's the school across from the daycare centre.
Yeah, that's because that's where a lot of the kids fed into.
Well, let's not dox the kids accidentally and say where they are, but...
No.
Like I said, people, we're seeing some of this stuff for the first time tonight. So some of my reactions here are going to be completely off the cuff, because it was more just... It just triggered me to realise that's what he's standing in front of. Like... Is the preschool still running? As far as we're aware, yes.
Yeah, sadly, yes.
Those we spoke to today are shocked and sickened by the allegations against Brown. Do you know if your son's affected at all?
No, not. I don't know yet. Yeah. So yeah, we're going for some tests. So we'll just wait.
This Point Cook father's 3-year-old son attends the childcare centre. Like hundreds more, his family faces an anxious wait for answers.
How's your son doing?
He's doing all right. Yeah, he's doing all right. Yeah, you know, he's little, so
he doesn't really understand what's going on.
Yeah. So.
And that's really the problem, is that because so many of the kids were so young, the odds of any of them remembering anything is slim. And that's why, are you able to talk about the meeting or not? Or was that under NDA?
It was under NDA, but I mean, it's common knowledge that a child that young is not going to be able to remember anything like that.
Okay.
And in my opinion, that's probably why he was targeting the ones that he was, because they were too little to be able to understand or comprehend what was going on.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think it's breaking the NDA to say that it's the state of Victorian law at the moment is that because those kids aren't going to remember anything, they can't take any action.
At the moment, you can't bring it for a child. I mean, obviously I can speak to the law, but for a child, you can't bring an action until you reach the age of 18. But then if you do bring an action, you have to be able to show that you're bringing the action because of what happened at a certain age. And arguably, if you were a certain age and you don't remember any of it anyway, then how can you sort of...
How do you prove there's been damage?
How can you show that that's what has actually impacted you?
You can't see these things coming. You just hope the government puts processes and systems in place to avoid things like this.
Jude, she's 6 now, but she was between the age of 2.5 and 4 at the time. Oh, all right. So we're going to move on to the first of the written ones, which... This was one of Lady Overlaw'd's first times appearing on the internet.
Oh, fuck you.
What? Well, I was going to say internationally, but this is Daily Mail Australia. We haven't got to the BBC yet, or
I might have done
Washington Post
OnlyFans or something. You never know.
Don't you fucking put that out there on the internet. Are you insane? Now the farms are going to have a field day. Fuck. Why? Why would you say that?
I don't know. I'm trying to keep some things like I don't know. I'm going to throw in some Aussie
Thank you for the
humour.
membership, Phoenix. And also, Paul, thank you for joining up as a member.
See, look, at least someone loves me.
Distraught mum reveals the offer alleged childcare pedophile Joshua Brown made that still haunts her to this day. A mum is haunted by how close she came to allowing a childcare worker accused of dozens of sickening offences inside her home to babysit her daughter. Joshua Dale Brown, 26, was charged with more than 70 child abuse offences last week, including the sexual penetration of a child and production of child abuse material. The alleged offences occurred during Brown's employment at Creative Garden Early Learning Centre Point Cook, where he worked between October 21 and February of 2024. Melbourne mum Melody Glaister is among hundreds of parents left reeling by the news and took to social media to express her horror. That's really how this came to everyone's attention. You put up your Facebook post, and that's really how the lawyers got in touch with you. That's how the media got in touch with you, isn't it?
No, the lawyers got in touch with me through LinkedIn. And then that's how the media got involved.
Her daughter, now 6, attended the daycare centre during the entirety of Brown's employment at the centre. Mrs. Glaister, because apparently you failed to mention that you had a wedding ring on, revealed he was her daughter's favourite educator, which is still just... I still don't know what to do with that information. And that he even offered private babysitting services on more than one occasion. It haunts my husband and I that we seriously considered accepting his offer. It is distressing to the point where my husband no longer trusts anyone to care for her other than ourselves. And that's true, I don't. I said that to Mel the other night. Aside from her, I don't want her out of either of our sites. I don't want anyone else looking after her. I am so freaking paranoid about it that I'm concerned about when she goes back to school, because she's going to have to be back in after school care. And that's nothing against the girls running the after school care. It's that I can't trust anyone. I can't.
It's because we put our trust in someone that we thought we could trust. And then this is how it's turned out.
Mrs. Glaister claimed Brown asked about her daughter when the pair crossed paths earlier this year. He was bubbly and always wanted to be around the children, which at the time I thought was a good quality, she told the Herald Sun. Oh, actually, that will link me to the article, so I can open that. I've had so many conversations with him, the charges came as a complete shock. Why am I reading this? They're literally your quotes. Her daughter was one of the 1,200 children who had to be tested for sexually transmitted infections last week in the wake of the allegations against Brown. It was her little girl's first ever blood test. Having to explain to her that she needed to undergo that kind of testing, that was also something no parent should ever have to go through. She's among hundreds of parents now demanding answers from the childcare centre. We've had to have conversations with our child that no parent should ever have to, let alone one so young. Can we homeschool her? I've been looking into it. We'll see. Please, on behalf of all those currently seeking answers as to what went wrong, we need proper accountability and we need change now for the sake of our precious and innocent children. Brown worked at 20 childcare centres over an 8-year period between January 2017 and May of 2025. He was not known to police before. See, this is before all of the additional information came out. He was not known to police before his arrest and had a valid working with children check, which has since been cancelled.
You'd want to hope so.
You have any comments on this particular article? Anything that you wanted to add that didn't make it in there?
I think they covered most of it, at least at that point, because the other information we weren't aware of then.
Jason, it might have been before I started up, but I can't actually see a super chat. No homeschool, kid need more support, not less. Okay, fair enough. All right, so this is the original article. Childcare worker Josh Brown offered private babysitting services to the family of a little girl multiple times while she was employed at the centre where he allegedly committed 70 child sex abuse offences. Herald Sun can reveal that the alleged pedophile offered to look after a 3-year-old girl who attended Creative Garden in 2022, one-on-one while her mother was in hospital. While the girl's mum, Melody Glaister, never accepted the verbal invitations, she said it haunts her because of how close she came to letting Brown inside her home. He offered to do private babysitting services on more than one occasion. My husband and I actually considered it, which haunts us to this day. So thank goodness we didn't. Makes me wonder whether he offered that to anyone else. I'm not going to read through all of the articles because for the most part they're parroting each other because they take quotes and that sort of thing. But here was your first non-YouTube appearance on the internet.
First impressions of him, what was he like? He was very bubbly, very, very bubbly. Always wanted to be around the children, which at the time I actually thought was a good quality. He sort of seemed like he enjoyed what he did. Certainly, maybe more so than some of the other staff at that centre. But yes, he
just got that little jab in there.
Absolutely. I was going for blood with the centre as well, and I still am, so...
Yeah, and I think that's completely fair and reasonable in the circumstances. I mean, we had issues with that centre long before this came out. I mean, I've told chat plenty of times a story about Scarlett and her broken front tooth, and it's amazing how, miraculously the week after that happened, they've completely redone the playground and they put soft stuff down and all that sort of stuff. And, oh, well, she wasn't really, what do you call it? She wasn't really unsupervised or anything like that. She just fell over and happened to break her front tooth. Are you freaking kidding me? And then there was no incident report about it. There was no follow-up information about it, as far as I remember. Like, what was that? I remember when Lady Overlaw'd was going to have her own stream. As a great mum, you're too shy to stream, but you come out like a tiger ready to unalive anyone hurting your cub.
Absolutely.
He's always seemed sort of very, very bright, always smiling. But definitely liked being around the children.
And what did he ask you during that time? That maybe that was the invitation that he had offered you guys.
So during the period, it would have been around about 2022. He'd actually offered to myself and my husband to offer private babysitting services. On more than one occasion was that offer made. My husband and I had actually considered accepting that offer, which still haunts us to this day, obviously, with everything that's come out. So thank goodness we didn't. But it does make me wonder whether he'd offered that to anyone else as well.
And when you heard of the news, he'd been charged with 70 offences in relation to that childcare centre as well, what was going through your head?
My mind was racing. It was racing because I knew how close he was to my daughter. I had no information at that point as to whether or not something against my daughter may have taken place. I didn't even understand at that point what the charges were, what the allegations were. I had very, very little information. All I saw was his face everywhere, with details of there being potential sexual abuse. At that point my mind was racing as to what exposure my daughter had, knowing that that's the centre where the alleged incidents were said to have taken place.
And your daughter had to be tested as well as part of those 1,200 children. What was that like for you?
That was terrifying. That was her first blood test, and seeing what the test was for, which was for a whole panel of STIs, seeing that on a piece of paper when I'm taking my daughter in for her first blood test, it's actually horrifying as a mother.
That's the one thing I'm still fuzzy on. Was he there full time?
He was employed full time, but because he was
But he was rotating through the different centres, wasn't he?
Yes, because he was a Cert 3 educator, he would get picked up and sent wherever he was needed. So the majority of the time he was working at that centre, but that's why he worked at so many. Some of those centres he only worked for a period of, say, 3 days. And it would have been because he needed to cover absences.
Their guilt was awful. It was also quite embarrassing. Pathologists are reading this, and God knows what they're thinking of me as a mother as well. It was a horrible experience.
And it really was. I mean, trying to... I was quite thankful that we found a pair of, like, the girls at the pathology centre were quite good. I mean, aside from the one that was pedantic about the masks and that sort of thing and whatever else, I was like, well, you know, at least they're treating her well. They gave her the little certificate after she got her needle, and I mean, she handled it like a champ. She barely even flinched when the needle went in. So... But as it turns out, so this is 7 News a few days afterwards. This is how he basically how he supposedly wound up on the police's radar. Was that he was in contact with another individual that's allegedly had child sexual abuse material.
Oh, and the rest. Don't forget about the rest of that.
I may have blocked that shit out because it didn't directly relate to Scarlett, but I'm sure I'm about to get a rehash of it.
Okay.
Good evening. Melbourne's childcare abuse scandal is deepening, with a second man charged and urgent changes being fast-tracked across the industry. Parents are rushing to get their children tested, with one mother telling 7 News she felt helpless when her 4-year-old was turned away from hospital.
Detectives say Joshua Brown betrayed our most precious and vulnerable children with sickening sexual assaults. 8 young victims suspected, many more.
So, Bridget, back when there were 20, I don't know about the most recent ones because we're now at, what, 24, 25, 26 centres that are involved?
24,
Back when there were only 20, 18 of them were run by 2 separate companies.
Feared, and now a second man charged.
I felt sick, nauseous, and just shocked.
Parents of children at the childcare centres where Brown worked, horrified at suggestions food was contaminated, causing a risk of sexually transmitted infections.
And that's why the kids need to be tested, which my heart just sank as soon as I found that out.
Now this mum's 4-year-old.
It didn't make it any better or any worse, in my opinion, finding out that that's, like...
Really?
Well, I mean, if it hadn't been from the contaminating of the food, we could have at least definitively said, okay, well, if any of the kids are coming back as positive, it's probably because there was sexual contact. So, for me,
How sick as an individual do you have to be to allegedly contaminate children's food with your bodily fluids? Like, how messed
Oh, I'm not
up?
disagreeing with you on that, babe. Not in the slightest.
That's just a whole different level of messed up.
Ty, allegedly, and we have to say allegedly, that while he was working in the food areas of the childcare centres, which he supposedly was not supposed to do, because he allegedly did not have food handling or safety or all that sort of shit, he contaminated their food with his bodily fluids. Now, I'm not sure if that's spit, semen, saliva, blood, whatever else. Point is, he was in a position where he was able to do it, and he should not have been able to.
Needs testing for chlamydia, gonorrhea and syphilis. But yesterday she says she faced repeated long delays and disconnections from the government helpline, then was turned away by her GP and the Royal Children's Hospital and told to go elsewhere.
And that's a horrifying thought. The Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne is set up to deal with emergencies with children. The fact that they were so inundated that they were having to turn people away is heartbreaking. Now, I've told everyone on the channel before, my wife, my beautiful wife there, knows this. My mother is a child healthcare nurse. So, you know, surprisingly, she was one of the first people that I was on the phone to when all this came out. The Royal Children's is where she told us to go. And it's come to my realization that if we would have been turned away by that stage. So honestly, it's terrifying that this was... There would have been parents freaking the absolute fuck out, and they would not have been able to get any sort of real answers or closure at that point. Oh, SJJ with £2. Thank you. Loving Lady Overlaw'd, thoughts with you all. Very much appreciate that. Thank you. Just a monster and no human in that vessel. Oh.
There was no sense of help yesterday. It was just chaotic.
26-year-old Brown left her feeling concerned, but she trusted the system.
He seemed very messy and he looked creepy as such. Just didn't look like he fit in there. So
I want to push back on that a little bit, and you've said the same thing, sweetheart, because some of the other parents have come forward to us and said, thank you for reassuring us because we didn't see anything wrong with him. Like, and I said it before, guys, and you can comment on my judgment about it or whatever else. I thought he was just a significantly flamboyant gay guy. That's all I thought of him. And I never got any indication that he was doing anything like this. And again, that's why I'm now so fucking paranoid and I'm not trusting a single goddamn person. As how did I put it the other day? If they're not married to or haven't sprung from my loins, I am not trusting them one iota in this world right at the moment. Basically, it's only really people that I'm sharing blood DNA with. So
I felt uneasy.
Sexual crime squad detectives also arrested.
And yes, I'm going to try and inject at least a little bit of levity in this, because if I don't laugh at this point, I'm going to start fucking crying again.
One of his associates, 36-year-old Michael Simon Wilson of Hoppers Crossing, he faces 45 charges. Some are sexual offences against a teenage...
Let's highlight the last one. Can we really highlight that?
You know what I'm terrified about? The fact that he only had 45 charges. That's almost half what Josh is Josh is charged with, and yet he still managed to include bestiality. Like,
so these people are friends of some sort, and allegedly were kind of sharing material between themselves. So you've got one person who is allegedly contaminating food with bodily fluids, and you've got another person who is allegedly fucking animals. What the actual fuck is wrong with these people?
Boy, including rape
And
in
my
Coburg
dog's
in
even
April, is also understood.
what was that? Oh, my dog's even safe. Damn it! I'm not on OBS, so I can't do the shock dog. Talk for a second, will you, love?
What?
Just talk.
Okay.
Just for a second.
Fuck. Someone said they called.
That's when that guy just the goat saw that the sheep saw that guy coming, and he just. See, this is what happens when I'm not on StreamYard for a period. I don't have any of my videos queued up. But anyway.
To have been charged with bestiality. Brown was arrested at his Point Cook house on May 12.
They escort the guy with the handcuff.
Neighbours say another male resident at the Point Cook home, believed to be Joshua Brown's boyfriend, moved out with the help.
And I'm not going to lie, like, he may be completely innocent in this, but you got to admit, I'm curious to what he did and didn't know. Like, either he is someone that my heart absolutely would have to go out to, or, in my opinion, he may have been complicit. I don't know. I'm in no way casting aspersions on what I'm hoping is ex-boyfriend at this point. I'm just saying.
Were friends around 2 weeks ago, but there is still some furniture left inside. Yesterday, the 3-bedroom house was advertised for rent, and at the childcare centre where the 8 children allegedly fell victim, shock.
I guess everyone's kind of asking the same question, how does that happen?
And I would be pushing for cameras in every single room.
And I almost feel a bit of guilt as well, as a parent.
That's going to do so much.
So that's broken me a bit.
What was that?
I said that's going to do so much, isn't it?
What, the cameras in the rooms?
Yeah, the cameras in the rooms are going to take care of your children for you. Absolutely.
Oh, don't worry. We're going to get to that because we've got to get to the video about all the new changes that the state government wants to bring in to make us all feel better after the fact.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
And childcare centres are now bracing for a raft of new rules, from security cameras to stricter background checks on workers. But a former...
You want to tell me exactly how the fuck stricter background checks are going to make a difference if the government department that's in charge of it doesn't actually even bother informing the next childcare centre that the person had 2 substantiated allegations of child abuse against them and didn't bother doing anything with the working with children check? I mean, what the fuck is the point of the background check if it doesn't include the relevant information anyway? Spoiler, because I was going to talk about that when we get closer towards the end, when you hear the rest of the shit that's coming out. But basically, he had 2 substantiated investigations of physical abuse against kids whilst at that centre, both of which were supposedly reported to Victoria Police, both of which were reported to the Department of Education or whichever government background it is, and they exercised their discretion to punt it back to the childcare centre for in-house discipline because they didn't have the funds to properly investigate or to be bothered doing their job, in my opinion. It's disgusting.
Don't forget how we also happened upon that information too. Because
we heard about it through the media. Oh, and because
one of the media outlets started pressuring that centre because they had heard that information. And so all of a sudden that centre's gone, oh shit, I suppose we better tell people before it actually hits the press. So what do? They send an email to us on a Saturday night, literally in the evening on a Saturday, and we get an email from this centre, a ridiculously long email detailing these freaking investigations that had taken place, making it seem like, oh, they're doing the right thing and they're informing the parents. No, they were just trying to get a jump on the media. That's all it was.
Trying to see if I can show this without accidentally doxing myself. So here's the email that we received last Saturday night. Dear families, we know that the past fortnight has been incredibly difficult for our G8 education community, and we would like to reiterate how deeply sorry we are for the unimaginable pain caused by those affected. Continue to work with Victorian Police and Victorian Government, other relevant authorities as part of their ongoing investigation. Keep in mind, this email was sent after they were made aware that I believe it was ABC, wound up doing a very significant expose. I'll skip through most of this because a lot of it, in my opinion, was just them trying to cover their asses. But here's the key part that had us seeing red. Mr. Brown was the subject of 2 internal investigations during his employment with G8 Education between October 21 and February 24. This was before the criminal charges for the sexual abuse came to light. The allegations were notified to Victoria Police and the Commission for Children and Young People, CCYP. That's what CCYP stands for. There you go.
Yes.
And the Department of Education. And the outcome of the investigations were notified to the CCYP and the department as required by our own internal policies and procedures and relevant regulation and law. So, as recent as February 24, he was in fact known to police for actions against children. The first investigation was conducted in April of 23. It followed allegations that Mr. Brown aggressively picked up and put down and did not uphold the dignity and rights of a child in his care by not supporting that child while they were upset. The allegations did not involve allegations of sexual abuse. These allegations were raised by 3 G8 education team members to G8. Other staff members, 3 of them, reported him for this, and the centre investigated. And the government departments just decided to do nothing. The following notification to Victoria Police, the matter was referred back to G8 for internal investigation and disciplinary response. G8 Education thoroughly investigated the allegations in line with its policies and procedures and substantiated both allegations. The resulting investigation report was provided to the department and CCYP. Formal disciplinary action was taken against Mr. Brown by G8 Education with a formal written warning issued and a performance improvement plan put in place, which included coaching and further training. Mr. Brown took an extended period of 3 months leave following the investigation. At that point, his working with children should have been shredded, in my opinion. When you have a substantiated claim against a childcare worker for physical abuse against a kid, there's just no way around it. That's
not even 1, but 2 substantiated investigations.
Oh no, as far as I'm concerned, as soon as the first one was done, he should have been done, let alone the fact that we're getting into a second one. The second investigation was conducted in January of 24. This is what, a month? No, this is just before he... Yeah, anyway. Well, second investigation was conducted in January 24 following receipt of allegations that Mr. Brown raised his voice during interactions with 3 children, forcibly grabbed the arm of one child, the leg of another, and forcibly pulled off another child's shoe. The allegation did not involve allegations of sexual abuse. These allegations were raised via a complaint from a parent and reports of 2 G8 Education team members to G8 Education. So in this instance, you've got a parent and 2 other staff members reporting him for abuse against kids. Following notification of Victoria Police, it was referred back to G8 for internal investigation and disciplinary response. Again, the authorities decided they were going to kick the can back to G8. Immediately following receipt of the allegations, G8 Education suspended Mr. Brown from his employment and G8 Education pending completion of the investigation. Notice how they said suspended, but they didn't actually say whether or not he'd been suspended with or without pay. Mr. Brown remained suspended throughout the investigation and resigned from his employment with G8 Education during the investigation and did not return to his employment with G8 Education. Now, Mel and I have been sitting down doing the timeline of when he left, and there's, what, a 3-month period between this and when he starts at the Affinity Centre?
I don't even know that it actually works out to be 3 months. I actually think it's less than that. But I need to sit down and bloody do detective work myself.
Yeah. The point is, by this point... Oh, hang on. Let me finish this. G8 Education finalised investigation of the allegations in line with policy and procedures. Final report was provided to the department and CCYP. In both instances, G8 Education took immediate action and followed robust processes for responding to serious incidents of nature, including all requirements under regulation and law. The investigations, which substantiated all allegations, resulted in disciplinary action in the first instance and Mr. Brown's resignation in the second. All families who were impacted by the allegations were informed of the investigations and their outcome.
So let's translate that. At this point, it's like, oh, this dickhead's gone and done something else. Oh, hang on, he's resigned. Oh, great. Now we can just wipe our hands of the situation and it's not our problem anymore. That's what's happened.
Yep. And see, the most disgusting part here is that from what we can tell, at this point, by January, February 2024, there have been 2 substantiated allegations, both of which, in my opinion, either of them should have required a review of his working with children check. So that was punted down the road because the government department in charge of it exercised their discretion and decided not to be involved. So as far as we can tell, the centre that he then went and worked with were not informed that he had 2 substantiated allegations for child abuse against him. And he then went and worked at, another 10 centres after that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Supposedly, allegedly. And then they go on to say, they want broader sector reform needed and what they're advocating for and all that sort of stuff. And I could not give a rat's ass what they're trying to do.
They're not advocating for anything. They're trying to protect their allegedly trying to protect their freaking shares.
Exactly.
Human Rights Commissioner says it's shameful these changes weren't made sooner.
A childcare sector plunged into crisis.
There are holes in the child safety scaffolding, not just in Victoria, but around Australia.
Here in Victoria, though, I won't wait. Families.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Fuck me. Is this where the crocodile tears come out, or have we?
I don't think it's this press conference where the crocodile tears come out.
Oh, okay.
But I cannot stand the fact, because I've seen it on both sides so far in the last 2 weeks. Politicians on both sides coming out and saying, and the fact that people are trying to politicize what has happened to these kids as well, blaming either the left or the right-wing parties for not making changes, because there was a Royal Commission into this in 2017. South Australia had their one in 2016, and we're going to get onto that in a minute as well. The simple fact of the matter is both sides of the political spectrum had sufficient time and knowledge of this shit going on to make changes. And it has taken abuse of potentially thousands of kids for them to fucking pull their heads out of their asses and do anything. You better believe I'm pissed the fuck off that now they're being so reactionary and going, we're going to do everything within our power to make sure this doesn't happen again. You know what? You should have fucking done that 5 years ago.
What needs to happen now?
Personal devices will be banned from all Victorian childcare centres from September 26. Organisations that don't comply could face hefty fines of up to $50,000.
Our workforce are an incredibly dedicated group of people, but I acknowledge that for some families yesterday that trust was broken.
The families of 1,200
I'm sorry,
what? Bloody grief.
children told to get tested for infectious diseases will be offered an immediate payment of $5,000 to cover medical, mental health support costs and time off work. It's
in
a
my
scandal.
opinion, hush money.
Allegedly. Don't you ever get me screwed.
I said in my opinion.
Okay, well, you have to enunciate because unfortunately with StreamYard, when there's a video playing, both of our mics drop. So people can't necessarily hear everything we're saying. Same. What does banning electronic devices achieve? Prevent them from producing evidence. That was really my contention about it because, the only reason that he's facing any charges is because at least for those 8 kids, some of it was videoed or photoed.
I would like to know, in what universe is a childcare educator that's supposed to be looking after children standing there with their phone going, oh, fuck, look at this thing on TikTok. Yeah.
Well, they're not supposed to be. That's just it.
How would you get time for that shit anyway if you're looking after children? What the fuck are these people doing with their phones on them anyway?
It's being felt deeply across the industry.
It's devastating, absolutely. And it's so anti the ethics and the professionalism of early childhood educators.
When you think of our interactions with Creative Garden, do ethics and professionalism come to the forefront of your mind?
Nope.
Now Canberra is under pressure to act too.
I think any Australian who heard the news from Victoria yesterday would be sickened by what they heard.
Government's scrambling to implement a national childcare worker registry and CCTV monitoring.
The Premier has announced a statewide review into the sector, but her federal counterpart isn't on the same page. The Education Minister says they already have all the information they need.
We've had a Royal Commission. We've got the recommendations.
Recommendations sitting on the shelf since...
And that's what fucking drives me up the wall. They've had the Royal Commission. There were recommendations put in 2017. And say what you want. Yeah, sure. It was during the period where the Liberal Party and National Party were in power. Sure. But you know what? The Labor Party's also been in for the last almost 4 years now too. Wait. Labor Party's already had a term in and they've done shit all either. Both levels, both at the state and federal level, and both parties have royally fucked us over. They don't get to point. They don't get to finger point. They don't get to pork barrel about this. They don't. That's not the right word. They don't get to point the finger at the opposite side and say, "Hey, you didn't do anything about this," because they've all fucking failed these kids.
last decade, no national child safety standards or uniform working with children checks.
It is shameful that 10 years on from the recommendations of the Royal Commission, we haven't done the job.
Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
And you all gave up your guns. Actually, Peachy, I saw something very interesting in the paper today that might actually shock a lot of people as to, because completely off topic, but WA had a massive breach of their gun registry over the last week or so. And there's now a map of all of the gun owners in WA. And the whole media ploy about Australians not having guns is pretty well blown apart when you look at that map. Just saying. What does the politics have to do with this fucking shit? I agree with you. Oh, excuse me. Oh, here we go. I think this is the crocodile tier one. This was 9 News the day after. God.
Fended off criticism of her choice of a former South Australian Premier to head up the urgent review into Victorian childcare.
As Isabel Quinlan reports, a Sunbury father has shared the pain of rushing his child for STI tests after discovering Joshua Brown worked at the boys' facility.
The potential ramifications of an inconceivable act.
An STI for a 2-year-old is something that should never, ever happen.
But for hundreds of Victorian families, this is the grim possibility they're facing, including this father, after learning accused
Thank you, Mark. Very much appreciate that.
Pedophile Joshua Brown worked at his toddler's childcare centre, Aussie Kindies Early Learning in Sunbury.
It was really upsetting to see that he's going through this because of someone else's actions.
Initially, he thought they were in the clear, but a post made to the daycare's communications portal yesterday revealed the childcare suspect had worked more dates than originally posted on an official list circulated earlier this week.
These are dates that the government weren't aware of. And yeah, it's just unfortunate that we had to find out that way. But when they did upload it, it was only up for a short period of time and now it's been deleted.
There's been no change to the official list as to when and where the accused worked, but Victoria Police has flagged that could change.
To make such big mistakes in this, with young children involved between 5 months to 2 years, and to be cutting corners and communication breakdown, poor, it's very disappointing.
70 charges have been laid against former worker Joshua Brown relating to 8 alleged victims. Police are now investigating if any alleged abuse occurred at 19 other facilities he worked at since 2017. A Current Affair has exclusively obtained the 26-year-old's resume, in which he reveals his work history outside childcare in business.
That's a good question. Where do you reckon they pulled that from?
They could have got that from anywhere.
Health, maybe, or because there's no way in hell a family.
No, but someone could have just leaked it.
I mean, if it's any of the centres, then there's issues there. But yeah.
Attended by children. Joshua Brown's CV says his interests include caring for and teaching others. He lists being a people person as an attribute and vows to bring a strong work ethic, honesty and integrity, as well as experience on computers to...
Honestly, I don't think his ass is going to have the integrity by the time he's out of prison, but...
I don't think it had that to begin with, but anyway. Allegedly.
Any role. The government is already commissioning a review into the sector, appointing former South Australian Premier Jay Weatherill to lead the inquiry.
Now, this pissed me right the fuck off. And I was contacted by one of the newspapers to talk about that. Actually, to be fair, you were contacted by them, but you don't do political stuff, so you sent it off to me.
I referred that to you, yeah.
Yes.
I'm looking
And
at
and look, as they want to, the newspaper, she was very lovely. She took my prepared statement because you guys know me. I decided I wanted to be very, very eloquent. I said, look, here's my prepared statement. Feel free to use it in part or in whole, because I was pretty sure that they would have taken it however they wanted to anyway. But out of my probably 4-paragraph statement, I think they took like 2 sentences. So, let me just see if I can pull it up, actually. Yep. I'm going to take this away for a second. So what I actually said was, as a parent of a child at the Creative Garden during Joshua Brown's employment, I'm furious with the failures of the childcare system and the authorities tasked with its oversight. We placed our faith and trust in the childcare sector and its regulations, believing that our children were safe, only to be betrayed by catastrophic lapses. Due to these egregious failures, we, like countless other parents and families, may never know the full extent of what undocumented atrocities our children may have endured, in addition to those that he has been charged with. Premier Jacinta Allen's announcement of a childcare safety review now feels like a hollow gesture to placate rightfully outraged parents rather than a serious effort to address the horrific failures that allowed these crimes to happen. If protective measures were possible, whether by the childcare centres or by the government, they should have been in place long before this tragedy. It's outrageous that safeguards are only considered after an alleged offender has been allowed to commit heinous acts, shattering the innocence of one child, let alone dozens or potentially thousands. I'm appalled by the news of the appointment of Jay Weatherill to lead this review. His track record as South Australian Premier, those of you in America, Governor, raises serious red flags in my opinion. His government's child protection failures in the past were so severe that the Child Protection System's Royal Commission, which was the one in 2015, 2016, I believe, forced him to issue a public apology. This history makes me highly doubtful of his ability to prioritise our children's safety or deliver meaningful reforms. While his government experience might offer some insight into the systemic issues, it's far outweighed by his failures, in my opinion. I'd far prefer someone with a proven record on child safety. Furthermore, his Labor Party affiliation for me raises concerns that he'll minimise or whitewash the Victorian Labor government's role in the crisis. Look, I'm not going to say one way or another about the fact that they completely cut out my go at the Labor Party, but I kind of felt like that had to be out there. We need proper investigation and reform, not potential political manoeuvring or half-hearted efforts for someone with a documented history of allegedly failing kids. Our children, Victoria's children, deserve the best possible protection, and as it stands, I do not believe that the review will be able to do that. You don't have to sit there like a stunned mullet.
What, me? No, I'm reading the comments. I'm getting a kick out of the comments.
You use too many big words in the first 10 sentences. Reporters don't understand big words. No, AP, look, actually, while we're at it, I will say this, and you can correct me if I forget anybody, but I do want to specifically say a big thanks to Alicia, Rebecca, Jackie, all the news reporters that reached out to us directly, and they were all lovely and very willing to listen to what we had to say. And I genuinely believe they portrayed us very well in the media. And I'm hugely thankful for all of the assistance they gave us. Because I'll be honest, pretty much from this video onwards, Mel or I appear in pretty much every one of the videos afterwards. Did you write it on your Gundam stationery? Fuck you, Stingy. Miss you, buddy. You're saying you wouldn't trust him to run a bath? No, not really.
But it hasn't come without some backlash after he oversaw the worst child protection failure in his state's history.
How on earth can we have confidence that this review will deliver the outcomes that Victorian families need?
Despite criticism, the Premier has defended the appointment, claiming he's the best person for the job because he has seen where the system hasn't supported children.
And that, to me, is probably the stupidest argument whatsoever. Oh, he has seen where everyone else has failed. He's seen where his government has failed. So he is the best person to be able to see where our government's failed and plug the holes and fix it. Kind of like giving the fox the keys to the hen house in a weird way, isn't it?
Jay Weatherall is the best person for this work.
People aren't interested.
Sweetheart, you're not even the best person to be leading Victoria, so I don't trust your opinion on it either.
Interested in excuses. They want action. And this work will never end.
Everyone that's involved in this is a victim, and we just need clarity.
Isabel Quinn.
Mike, private, like to the point where they're listed on the stock exchange here. And I don't feel bad about their stock prices plummeting as a result of this, honestly. And I don't feel like I need to. All right. I think this one's out of order. Apologies, people. I didn't get all of them in the right order, but...
Simon Wilson, the second alleged pedophile charged in connection to Victoria's horrific child abuse investigation.
Can you pause here?
Comes as allegations against childcare.
Sorry?
Can you pause here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want everyone to see this guy's face. Because allegedly this is the guy that's charged with bestiality. Can you imagine that coming at you? Like, what poor dog or sheep or rabbit or fucking elephant or I don't know, but what poor fucking animal out there has seen this fucking creep walking towards them going, yeah! I'm sorry, but like, look at him.
Oh, Jude, thank you. Very much appreciate that. Hey, Flux. Sorry you had to come in on that. Flaming hamster cannon. Don't make bad dragon joke. Oh, no.
Child abuse investigation has been unmasked. It comes as allegations against childcare worker Joshua Brown could be wider than first thought, with one parent revealing new information about his work history. Ollie Haig has today's developments.
This is Michael Simon Wilson, an accused pedophile known to childcare suspect Joshua Brown, according to police. He's been charged with 45 offences, including rape, possessing child abuse material and bestiality. The 36-year-old is not a childcare worker, and his alleged offending is separate to Brown, but police have linked them to the same investigation. And this is the epicentre of it, Creative Gardens Early Learning Centre in Point Cook. 70 charges laid against former worker Joshua Brown relating to 8 alleged victims. Police now investigating if any alleged abuse occurred at 19 other facilities he worked at since 2017. But given he was a casual worker, revelations the scope of this case may be larger.
Casual, I didn't like when they said that, okay? Because casual wasn't really appropriate. Yes, he moved between centres, but he was primarily at one for his particular time, okay? He was primarily at Point Cook. He moved across to other places as need be, but he was primarily there. And saying casual, that might be what was on his that might be what was on his contract, but he was there a significant amount of time.
I genuinely do not believe he was actually employed on a casual basis at that centre in Point Cook, not at that one. there would have been a permanent contract in place at that point.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, sorry, people. I don't have the redeems on. We're on StreamYard so that I could have Lady Overlaw'd on today. So apologies, you're not earning your $1 and they can't be spent, but... Wait, what's that? Animal Man gives me bad tribute show Louis Capaldi vibes. Oh.
Than previously thought. A concerned mother has told Nine her child attended Papilio Early Learning in Essendon. On an official list circulated this week, it was claimed he worked there between February and May this year. But the mother immediately recognised the accused face in the media, despite her daughter attending in October and November in 2024. I went through the daycare app, looking through past uploaded pictures, and found him in my daughter's class on 3 separate dates from last year.
Oh, Jem, honestly, the level of turnover that centre had was concerning. Lady Overlaw'd and I, when this all came out, we were going back through our emails from what we'd because we used to receive daily updates from the centre and that sort of thing. And I think there was 4 staff turnovers in the space of 3 months or something like that.
Probably. I think it was less than that, actually.
So,
as in the time period, I think it was less.
Yeah, excuse me.
Those dates weren't on the Victoria Police list, she said. I feel ill and guilty. She's since reported this to Crime Stoppers and the National Hotline. It comes as families already impacted weigh up their legal options.
About a dozen families have contacted our firm seeking to understand what their legal...
So that's Jodie. That's the one that you used to work with.
Yes.
For those of you that don't know, Lady Overlaw'd is a practice manager at a personal injury firm here in Melbourne, and I'm incredibly proud of her.
Legal options will be.
Arnold Thomas and Becca Lawyers says a $5,000 payment available to families of the 1,200 children who were referred for infectious testing is not enough. The law...
Fucking oath it's not enough. And hang on, didn't they reduce that down, like that it's not available to all 1,200 now?
So what I saw in terms of the eligibility criteria was that your child had to be referred for testing and had to have attended either the Creative Garden Centre or the Papilio Early Learning Centre.
So from 1,200, it's dropped down to a potential, couple of hundred?
I thought it was only that, but then I heard somewhere else that was actually available for every child that had actually been recommended for testing. So I don't know.
Firm believes civil action could result in big payouts.
It is potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in compensation.
There's also the potential for class action.
So if a large group arise out of one childcare centre, there's certainly the potential for a class action associated with that.
While males only make up a small percentage of the childcare workforce, there are now calls for them to be phased out of the sector altogether. A survivor advocacy group believes that should be a priority.
It is extreme for one, but the thing is we're now seeing this is the 3rd case of huge amounts of children being exposed.
I don't think this is about gender. This is about child safety.
The Federal Education Minister promising change, revealing he has a personal connection to what happened.
One of my best friend's daughters is caught up in this, 2 of her little girls. She's burning with rage. We haven't done enough and we haven't done it fast enough.
Okay, let's go live now to Ollie at Treasury Place. Ollie, the Premier has just announced who is going to lead this child safety review.
She has, Alicia, former South Australian Premier Jay Weatherill and Victorian...
No, I should say for Binron, the testing itself, because it's done through bulk bill clinics, is free. It's literally... It was $5,000 for individuals that had to take time off of work to make alternate arrangements for their kids. I think Lady Overlaw'd sort of put it the best, but I won't go so far as to class it as a hush penalty, hush payment. I think it was an attempt to put a band-aid on a broken arm and try and placate some people. My own personal opinion. So, my thoughts on the gender ban. Look, I've had strong opinions about different genders working in different roles for a long time. We've known that. It's one of the biggest bones of contention that I have with certain people in chat. I'm not necessarily opposed to men being banned out of the childcare system. I just think that we can't be complacent and say, oh, just because we ban all the men, that it's going to stop happening. Because you got to remember, just because we've seen this, in the last 2 weeks, there have been just as many, for example, teachers that have come out. Well, sorry, there's been just as many incidents of female teachers being arrested for having sex with their students and things like that. Like, sure, maybe it's not about babies, but we can't be complacent and think it's going to eradicate the issue, is what I'm saying. Reporter said also medical expenses, unless she was wrong and I'm confused. No, well, I mean,
medical expenses, they're referring to people that need psychological assistance.
Yeah, because at this point, there's no... In order to get psychological assistance, you have to go through a whole process of going to your GP, which, yes, is bulk billed, getting a referral, then getting a mental health plan put in place, which I think gives you 8 sessions of...
No,
well,
it
might have reduced
gives
that.
you 5 sessions, and it's at a subsidised rate. It doesn't fully cover it. In at least in Melbourne, like a very good child psychologist could cost around about $220 an hour, and the Medicare subsidy for that would be around about $90 from memory. So it doesn't actually fully cover the cost of it anyway.
Right. And see, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I contact her when I have questions about mental health or personal injury, because she knows what she's talking about.
What's that supposed to mean?
It was a compliment.
No, it's because I work in personal injury.
Years, Pamela White.
What?
It's because I work in personal injury.
Yes. Yes, and Serenity's right. That is also if you can get an appointment.
Yes.
So they both have been announced as the duo who will lead this urgent review. They'll be tasked with looking at immediate actions that the government can take. Things like CCTV in childcare facilities as well.
See, that gives me the shits. Like I said, that's something that could have been done years ago. Like, there should have already been CCTV cameras in all of the main rooms anyway. Like, I understand it not being in the toilet areas, which unfortunately is probably where a lot of this occurred. But as I said, if there were things that could have been done, they should have been long gone. They should have been already done long ago, especially after having 2 separate commissions at various levels. I mean, sure, the state one was in South Australia, which is next door to us. But they knew everything that was going on. There was no reason why Victoria couldn't have acted. So, and I have something caught in my throat now. Yay.
As learnings from other states and territories. The Premier has given them until August 15 to turn all of this information around. And Alicia, the Premier today confirmed that her government will adopt all of the recommendations and roll them out as quickly as possible.
No, we have an estranged relationship. You're not even in the will anymore.
Okay, Ollie Haig, thank you.
Oh, look, it went straight to the Thames one. I don't think that's my interview, though. No, that's something else. All right, well, I'll save that because that was... Oh, no, that was 2 weeks ago. We can... You contact the main person that causes you personal injury to help with your personal injury. Hayden, blink twice if you need help. Thank you, AP. I needed that. All right, you got anything to say about this one? Do you want to warn chat about the state of the house or anything before I press play?
I work. I'm busy. My house is not as clean as I'd like it to be.
No, now is not the time. So basically, now we're getting into our interviews. Most of these took place in our house, so just excuse the mess and all that sort of stuff. But they did a good job of like blurring the background and all that sort of stuff. So
A Point Cook mother has come forward with chilling new details about alleged childcare predator Joshua Brown. He pursued the family for private babysitting time with their little girl. Now they're at the centre of a class action lawsuit.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
No, we never were.
No. The specific question was to me was, are we seeking legal advice? My answer, absolutely. But they've just taken it like that.
Yeah. God, she was so small then, wasn't she?
Tiny. She was two. She was two there.
Whee! 1 week ago.
And it just occurred to me, still giving Dad the good look and having a butt crack on display. Like father, like daughter.
This little girl's parents got an email that would change everything.
He said, "It's Josh." And I knew straight away what that meant.
Joshua Brown, an alleged child abuser, was her daughter's educator for 2 years.
We gave this photo to 7 News. It's now been used by pretty much every news agency that's been covering it in one way or shape or form. For those of you that don't recognise it, that's Scarlett there, basically, and that's him there. That's how, like, you know.
5 days a week from 8 until 6:30 at night.
He was very bubbly, always smiling, always sort of gravitated towards the children as well. It's horrendous.
Scarlett, like more than 1,000 other Melbourne children, has now been tested for sexually transmitted infections. Her drawings, once innocent, now much darker, telling...
I still can't believe we didn't put 2 and 2 together for that picture. Do you think that came across? Do you think that she drew that because all this came out?
Well, that's when she did it. She did it afterwards.
Yeah, but what I'm concerned about is, did we influence that? Like, as I said to Rich before, this is why I'm so paranoid about how much we discuss and how much we advocate and that sort of thing, because the last thing I want is to accidentally impression her with any sort of memories or anything, but also I don't want to dig anything up for her. So yes, we're being incredibly careful about what we say around her, but at certain points it's been a little bit inevitable, particularly because we had to have those conversations with her as to why she needed to get the needle, why people were...
She's old enough that we couldn't just sweep it under the rug and say, oh, you need to have a blood test. We're going to be somewhat transparent with her, but we had to be very, very careful how we worded it because she's too innocent and young to comprehend the magnitude of what we're asking her.
Mind you, her drawings are getting better. For those of you that don't know, she drew the Aphmau characters, and she actually got the colours right, which I'm very, proud of her for.
Now much darker, telling her mother this face is Joshua's.
He had offered to provide private babysitting services to us as well. We may never know.
7 News can tonight reveal that Melody and potentially thousands of other parents are preparing to launch a class action lawsuit. The first target will be the childcare centres where Joshua Brown worked, but the firm behind the case haven't ruled out coming after the government as well.
There is
neither have I. Just FYI.
A larger cohort of parents who will forever live with this uncertainty.
We need accountability.
Jacqueline Stanley, 7 News.
Damn right.
What was that?
I said damn right.
All right, so this one, I will read this one because this one was really quick, and I don't know if you saw this one or not. Joshua Brown worked in Childcare Centre's kitchen in days before his arrest. Childcare worker Joshua Dale Brown was working in the kitchen at a Melbourne childcare centre just days before he was charged with more than 70 offences, including allegedly using bodily fluids to tamper with food. In a statement to the masthead on Friday afternoon, a spokesperson for the childcare operator Affinity confirmed the alleged child sex offender had assisted in the kitchens at Papilio Early Learning in Essendon during a brief period earlier this year, supporting meal preparations while centre chefs were absent. I'm sorry, what? If the meal chefs are absent, you bring in external catering. You don't give someone unqualified access to the food of children.
Apparently it happens. Apparently. I was shocked by that too, but apparently it does happen.
It's probably a rare, it's probably a slim chance in hell, but do you think that that source may want to talk if I use a voice modulator and blur them?
I don't know. Possibly.
I'd have to think what questions I'd ask about that first. Brown had led children in food-based learning activities, which included guiding children in educational activity where they had prepared Rocky Road, the statement said. Brown, 26, is due to appear in court in September, facing more than 70 charges, including sexually penetrating a child under 12, attempting to sexually penetrate a child under 12, sexually assaulting a child under 16, and producing child abuse material. Affinity said in the statement that the involvement of the educators in food-based activities was consistent with their play-based learning principles, and that centre managers with the relevant food safety certifications were responsible for supervising educators in the kitchen. The company was not aware of any further instances in which Brown had provided kitchen assistance to Affinity centres, the spokesperson said. That's going on about the CCTV, trial review, blah, 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 review principally took in, blah, blah. Okay, so this one was earlier in the week, so things are a little bit out of order, unfortunately. So this was a few days ago. Police named 4 more childcare centres where alleged pedophile Joshua Brown worked. This is in addition to the 20 already named a week or so ago. More than 800 additional children have been urged to get tested after a further 4 childcare centres were flagged as places where accused childcare sex offender Joshua Dale Brown worked. Police said that the 4 more daycare centres had been flagged as part of its ongoing priority investigation into the worker who was accused of a raft of sexual offences against kids. In May, he was charged with more than 70 offences against 8 children between 5 months and 2 years old. The new sites are Kids Academy, Waratah Estate in Mickleham, Milestones Education Learning in Tarneet, Milestones Early Learning Braybrook, and Milestones Early Learning Greensborough in Greensborough. No shit, you think? The Victorian government's issued an updated list of the known locations where he worked. Earlier records recorded that he worked at Papilio Early Learning in Hoppers Crossing between August 24 and March of 25. Police confirmed this information was incorrect and have removed the centre from the list. Investigators believe that Brown worked at 23 childcare centres between January 2017 and May 25. Agencies are in the process of contacting the families who had children placed at the 4 newly impacted centres during the time of Brown's employment. Where additional dates have been identified, impacted families have been contacted by the Department of Health from 15 July 2025. Spokesperson for Affinity Education that operates some of the centres said they were deeply distressed by the nature of the charges laid against the former employee. Since being briefed on the matter on 1 July, we've undertaken a comprehensive review of our employment and staffing records as well as relevant data. Yeah, a lot of good that's going to do. This included providing relevant information from our ongoing review to assist Victorian Police to update families at the childcare centres where the alleged offender worked. Oh, excuse me, sorry. We understand that many in the community will still be feeling shocked and anxious in relation to this matter. They need a better PR team. I'm just saying, the way this has been worded. I understand many in the community are feeling shocked. We are working through a large amount of information that has been provided to us. Each piece of information has to be individually assessed and verified before it can be used as part of an investigation or released to the public. I understand that the people who will be frustrated, no shit, Sherlock. And I want to reinforce that this is continually evolving and changing situations. What hasn't changed is that the investigation remains the highest priority for Victoria Police.
The opposition has taken aim at the Allen government's new child safety review, claiming it's a blatant attempt to dodge accountability. Stricter working with children checks and mandatory security cameras are both high on the agenda.
Beefing up.
Again, if these could have been done, why were they not already in place? That's what I want to know.
Working with children's checks, staff training or mandating CCTV, the state government says it's all on the table.
If there are gaps, we want to know what those gaps are so we can close them.
The review will identify the immediate actions the government can take to improve childcare safety settings, analyse the National Child Safety Reform Program and advise on ways to strengthen working with children's checks. They must also consider previous reviews. But it's what's being left out that has the opposition seeing red. Victoria's own regulator will be out of scope.
Oh yeah, let's not forget that. They're investigating the sector and the industry themselves. But it's not even a case of we investigated ourselves and decided that we did nothing wrong. It's we're not even going to investigate ourselves. We consider we are above the review. We're external to it. We're outside the terms of scope. CCYP and the Department of Education and their failures are not going to be examined in this review in any way, shape or form. No accountability from the government agencies whatsoever.
We already know what needs to be done from a 2022 report that the government failed to act upon. Why are we kicking the can down the road?
Questions around the regulator is something that we had already asked of our department some time ago.
What's really important? That's not really something you want to admit on TV. We've already had people questioning and making queries about the department, and we did nothing.
Important about the review is that it sorts out the tangle of accountability.
Some private childcare operators have already moved to install CCTV, though experts warn it's not a silver bullet or a substitute for adequate staffing.
How do we ensure that those images are kept safe and don't fall into the wrong hands? Just saying, tick, we've got CCTV is not going to be the answer.
There are some core questions that need to be answered, but we're absolutely interested in those questions because the police have told us that CCTV would be a deterrent.
The recommendations will be handed down in August. They will be revealed to the public, but the state government wouldn't commit to releasing the full report. Rochelle Brown,
That I don't understand either. If you already know that you're going to exempt yourself from the report, why would you not just say, yes, we'll release it so everyone can review it? Why commit to try? Why admit that you're going to try and cover it up in the first place? Like, now this one's pretty fucked up. Lady Overlaw'd and I have gone back and forth a couple of times trying to work out which of the childcare workers it was that came forward. Just because we believe from our personal experience we can probably narrow it down. But basically, there was someone at the Creative Garden Centre that tried to report him for allegedly tried to report him for sexual assault against the kids or whatever else previously. Like I said, new information was pretty much coming out daily, and there was no point in me trying to stream every single day because my head would have fucking exploded. I mean, Lady Overlaw'd can attest. The last 2 weeks for both of us, we have both been cats on hot tin roofs, and there's been times when we both had to just look at each other and said, okay, we both need to calm down. We both need to take a step back because it was not healthy for us. It was not healthy for Scarlett, and it wasn't conductive to actually dealing with anything, really.
A childcare worker says she made multiple complaints to her managers about accused pedophile Joshua Brown 2 years before he allegedly sexually abused children. She's contacted detectives after realising Brown went on to work at her own child's centre. Penelope Leash has this exclusive report.
Accused pedophile Joshua Brown's first childcare job was at this Point Cook Centre. It's where 8 years ago a colleague says she raised concerns with managers 4 times.
Oh, I stand corrected. This must be a different one. Because that's the childcare centre that's on Snades Road. Are you right, baby? You're fading.
No, I'm trying to make it out.
Hang on. Yeah, that's Papilio. Yeah, so that's Snades Road on that area down there. We drive past it going that way when we're going out towards.
Yeah, so that's that centre. So that's where is that where he worked?
Yeah.
Point Cook Centre. It's where 8 years ago a colleague says she raised concerns with managers 4 times.
He would always stand over children, a lot of screaming and yelling at them.
By the end of 2017, she claims she was told Brown had been given an official warning and would be let go. But he remained at the centre until 2019, when it was still known as Nino Early Learning Adventures.
For it to continue for such a long period of time shows that there's so many flaws in the system.
The company claims it followed regulatory requirements to record, manage and report any incidents. Years later...
So how does a person still hold a working with children's check?
So it's even worse, because that means that there's an additional 4 reports that were made to the Department of Education, CCYP, where his working with children hasn't been reviewed either.
Prior to when he started at the centre where the alleged incidents actually occurred. So
the actual
theoretically, if someone had have done their job at the time, then so many families and children wouldn't be the victims of alleged sexual assault. That is in essence what that is saying.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they did everything right, didn't they?
If his working with children check had been reviewed at that point after those 4, he would never have been working at Creative Garden, and those 8 kids that are allegedly verified and that there's allegedly evidence of, at the very least, would never have been. It keeps getting worse. And like I said, guys, some of this we're still new to because we had to take a step back and we had to focus on other things. So some of these news articles slip by us. And this is new information to me. No, nobody should be trusting working with children's certificates. Even my mother said, no, they're just a piece of paper that's easily obtained.
She recognised Brown at her own child's centre.
It's disgusting to come into contact with my child and potentially do things much worse.
In the years before he was charged, 9 News understands at least 3 parents raised concerns with Kids Academy Melton about Joshua Brown working with their children. They feel those complaints fell on deaf ears.
He was only there casually, so I guess when reports were made, it was dismissed quite quickly.
It's understood the centre didn't receive any official complaints. A spokesperson says where serious allegations are identified, our policies require immediate action.
It's affinity.
Serious. So what constitutes serious?
I think in that instance they're hiding behind the fact that there was no formal allegation. Fuck me sideways.
But Victorians are now asking how was Brown able to move between jobs and hold a valid working with children's check?
If there are any findings of disciplinary concern by a relevant body, those are looked at.
As soon as
but here's the problem. The relevant body shouldn't be able to use their discretion to ignore it and kick it back to the centre. Because if the relevant body had actually done their goddamn job, there would have been a finding by a relevant authority. Sorry, sweetheart, you were saying?
I think I already said something, didn't I?
I might have talked over you. I apologise.
There's a complaint made about a teacher, they're on suspension until further notice.
Penelope Leash, 9 News.
New details tonight on the Victorian government's urgent...
Why did she have a hard hat on? That's a big thing here in Australia.
Childcare.
Sorry, it started playing up more audio on my ear. Politicians here, when they're doing their rounds to visit places to make announcements and all that sort of stuff, they'll usually do it at a specific place that's relevant. So if it's like, I don't know, if there's construction work or something going on, they'll go out there to the construction site, put on a hard hat and a vest to make it's a PR stunt, basically. It's complete not a bullshit.
Safety review in the wake of horrific allegations against a worker. Eliza Rugg is covering the story for us this evening. Eliza, what can families expect?
Well, Tom, this review won't be looking into any ongoing police investigation. Rather, it will be looking at what can be done to fast-track anything that could help protect children within our childcare centres. Part of that work is analysing what's going on nationally with the National Reform Program and seeing what actions, as I said, could be fast-tracked right here in Victoria right now. This could include strategies like we've heard about the mobile phone bans within childcare rooms, as well as more CCTV within.
As if that's going to fucking change anything. Because if you're in a situation where you feel like you can get away with taking child abuse material photos of a child that you're looking after, it's going to be in a place where you're pretty sure you're not going to get caught with your phone anyway. Like, I mean, I keep coming back to the story that you said where you walked in and he was walking Scarlett out of the bathroom. That anyway.
Centres, as well as increased penalties for providers who breach the laws. The review will also examine how to improve information sharing between regulators. So that really is focusing on the establishment of a national educator register, as well as a Victorian state-based version. It will also be looking at how to strengthen the Working with Children check. All of these things, all of these strategies, this entire review focused on how to protect children from harm.
We need to invest in our educators who, almost all want to do a brilliant job and some don't. How do we make sure that we're creating cultures where those ones who don't are being noticed, they're being identified, they're being reported, and they're being pushed out?
This review will be handed over to the state government by August 15, and the state government has already promised Victorian families that all the recommendations will be implemented in full as soon as possible.
Fucking good that does. So we were quite lucky in that Mel basically managed to make a name for herself with the various news agencies and that sort of thing. And thankfully they were kind enough to do multiple interviews and that sort of thing, just so that we can keep advocating for the kids. Channel 10 were pretty good. I mean, I think the second interview was a lot better than the first, you said. But
the Victorian government is facing calls for a full review into the handling of complaints about alleged pedophile Joshua Brown. It has been revealed red flags were raised 2 years before he was accused of child sexual abuse. The incidents were not escalated by the Victorian Children's Commissioner, clearing Brown to work at 10 other childcare centres.
And that, again, that comes back to the email that we received last Saturday, and that's basically when Lady Overlaw'd and I lost our absolute shit. Because, and now knowing that at Nino he faced 4 other complaints, that's 6 opportunities that they had to potentially prevent this person from committing acts against kids.
2 weeks ago, Melody Gleister's world was shattered. Her perception of reality turned upside down with the news her 6-year-old daughter's childcare educator, Joshua Brown, was being charged with more than 70 offences, including alleged child sexual assault.
It's just been trying to get through one day at a time. I feel like each new day, something else is coming out.
Last night, an email to her inbox from G8 Education informing parents that Brown had been reported for his alleged conduct 2 years before his arrest.
I was beyond furious, actually.
Victoria Police, the Commission for Children and Young People and the Department of Education were informed of incidents between October 2021 and February 2024. In April 2023, 3 G8 staff reported Mr. Brown for aggressively handling a child. Brown was given a written formal warning and opted to take extended leave after the disciplinary action. And in January 2024, there were allegations Mr. Brown raised his voice with children and forcibly grabbed the arm of one, grabbed the leg of another, and forcibly pulled off their shoe. But the Commission didn't escalate Brown's case for a review of his working with children check.
That should never, ever have been allowed.
We can't have a system where kids are left at risk and parents don't trust the system.
The new information seemingly at odds with previous statements. There were no formal complaints and he was not known to police. The state government today facing intense scrutiny.
We've been very clear that we are conducting investigations. Victoria Police are conducting their investigations.
While her 6-year-old has little memory of her time at daycare, parents like Melody are now left with no faith.
She still has nightmares, which she won't tell us anything about. And whether or not there's a link there, I don't know.
Rebecca Powell, 10 News.
God, why did they have to use that shot of the playroom there? Get a toy wood chipper, strategically place it in the shot so it can't be avoided being seen. Thank you. Was he higher? I don't believe so, but I don't know. The only people who could tell us that would be Creative Garden and Affinity, unfortunately.
What's
How do we change the care rules? Sorry?
What's DEI?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay. Oh wait, say that.
You're a practice manager and you're in charge of human resources and hiring. You might want to work out how to get around that.
I don't know what that shit means. I call it something completely different.
What, that woke shit?
No, the LGBT.
No, hey, shut up! You're gonna get me cancelled. As for how we change care rules, at this point, I'm actually not 100% sure we need to change any rules. What we need to do is actually enforce and investigate and use the shit that's already in place. The fact that in each one of these instances, which now appears to be 6 instances, where the government department was referred complaints and they ignored them, I'm sorry, the best thing to do, I think, would be to completely remove the ability for them to use discretion to disregard complaints made to them. Now, the Department of Education and CCYP can turn around and say, oh, we've only got a 5th or a 10th of the funding that we need to be able to investigate all complaints or something like that. Okay, fine. I can think of any number of multi-million-dollar projects that the Labor government are putting in place that we don't need, sending millions of dollars overseas and shit like that could be used for this. But the simple fact of the matter is that there have been multiple recommendations of changes, and they could not be fucked to implement any of them.
So the issue is, though, that this particular person, and this was a big issue in that centre, and it's actually a big issue in a lot of centres, that particular individual was a Cert 3 qualified educator. Now, I believe that generally speaking, a Cert 3 qualified educator should still be supervised by a diploma qualified educator who is supposed to be the room leader. So there should be very few occurrences where a Cert 3 educator is in the room completely alone, unsupervised. And yet he must have been unsupervised the majority of the time for these alleged incidents to have occurred for the period and duration that they did.
Mm-hmm. First to breaking news on Melbourne's daycare abuse scandal, and there are
I forgot about this when they put up a third picture and everyone was like, no fucking way, they caught a ring. And I was like, well, I know someone caught. Moving on.
Yes, tonight, alleged predator Joshua Brown
The one in
came
the
in
middle.
contact with more.
Angel Run. The one in the middle. Angel Run.
Oh.
more children than first thought. It comes as parents shed light on new horror stories, including a mother whose children were photographed naked, but the carer was never charged.
New sex abuse claims from a mother of two against a childcare centre.
I was angry, I was disgusted. I just seen red, that's my child. He's meant to be safe there. He's not meant to be taken advantage of, and that's what they did.
An inner-city childcare centre informed her of an alleged child safety incident.
Their exact words were inappropriate naked photos.
She says the images were found on educators'
What? How did we miss this one?
How has this not been all over the news? And what centre was this at?
Unless this was the one that was up in New South Wales. I know there's been a couple this week that have come out in New South Wales as well.
If this is Victoria, well, good luck.
3 weeks ago, the centre has stood down the staff involved during internal and Department of Education investigations.
Just waking up over night time, just telling someone, don't touch me, don't touch me.
The family has filed a report with police, but the centre is not listed by authorities as an employer of recently charged suspect Joshua Brown. The mum wants urgent reform.
Okay, so it's because it's not linked to G8 or Affinity, so it's not part of the largest scandal. As if educators have appropriate naked photos. Exactly, Black Horse. That was a really bad way for them to phrase it.
Why are they
Daycares
taking
are getting so
photos?
desperate with educators, they're basically just bringing anyone in. The safest place for my kids is at home.
And more details have emerged about 36-year-old accused rapist Michael Wilson, who police arrested in May and charged with raping a teenage boy and bestiality. Shocked friends told 7 News Wilson's a divorced father of one, a former president of a suburban amateur radio club who's worked as a traffic controller, truck driver, machine operator and at a pizza shop, but not any childcare centres. This is Wilson's rented home in Hoppers Crossing. He moved in around 6 months ago and lived alone, but is now in custody. Neighbours say he was quiet and they had no idea why police were here 7 weeks ago. And it's understood the list of childcare centre dates for accused child sex offender Joshua Brown may be broadened, meaning more potential young victims. Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
The unfolding crisis across the sector has prompted a controversial call to ban men from certain areas inside childcare centres.
That I don't really have an issue with. Like what I was saying before, there's bad in both men and women.
The suggestion has been met with a swift backlash as politicians scramble to better protect our children.
Frustration in the search for answers parents may never get.
There's no silver bullet here. This work will never be done.
One abuse survivors advocate thinks there is a silver bullet, a ban on men in childcare bathrooms and sleeping quarters.
There's so many parents who are very, very uncomfortable with having male daycare workers around their children.
I think that's really extreme, and I think that it is really, really distressing. Children benefit from having positive male and female role models.
It's not something that I think that the Commonwealth is going to look at. I don't think this is about gender.
The overwhelming anger of parents.
Not shocked by that in the slightest, just going to say. Although it's interesting, this is the one time when the Labor government is willing to overlook gender as being an issue.
Parents is reflected on all sides of politics.
The implementation of those reforms has taken too bloody long.
The Education Minister conceding action by governments on Child Abuse Royal Commission reforms has fallen short as 1,200 children await test results for sexually transmitted infectious diseases.
The families of these kids aren't interested in excuses.
A statewide review will be handed to the Allen government in mid-August, but it's too little too late, according to the state opposition. They want Parliament recalled now to rush through urgent reforms.
We can act on the CCTV today.
people can get a working with children check, even if they're under active police investigation for crimes relating to children.
I'm sorry,
That's
what?
nonsense. It should be fixed today.
Child sexual abuse can happen in seconds, and then it's just too late.
And state political reporter Rochelle Brown is at Spring Street this evening. Rochelle, you have new details on the review ordered by the Allen government.
Well, Mitch, the Premier has just released a statement revealing exactly who will be spearheading this statewide review into the childcare sector. And there is a familiar name. Former South Australian Premier Jay Weatherill will be at the helm after...
Kate, sorry, I should have opened this with specifying. We actually got the results, Tuesday? And thank God we got the all clear. You're actually going to see that because Channel 7 just happened to be there when we did.
Leading a campaign advocating for an overhaul of Australia's childcare system 5 years ago. Now, he'll be joined by Pamela White, who has worked across the public sector for 3 decades, including...
Did she just pronounce Pamela as Pamela?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
In child protection. Any recommendations will still be some time away. The report isn't due back until mid-August. Mitch?
Rochelle Brown on Spring Street, thank you.
All right, here we go. 10 News Plus.
Oh, this is yours.
Yes, this was my television debut, people. Wait, was it? Or was this?
No, this was your debut.
This was the first time
And you got all excited, and then Channel 10 called me and said, "Can I do one too?" And you're like, "Ah."
That's right. I was incredibly nervous, but I'm so glad that I did this, and we've got to keep up pressure, because even now I'm noticing that it's starting to wane out of the media. And I get that there's other important things that are coming up. There's new cases coming out, all that sort of stuff. But I'm not about to allow this to be swept under the rug. Not in the slightest.
Alarming new allegations have emerged about accused childcare rapist Joshua Dale Brown. The 26-year-old was reported to police twice for allegedly manhandling children in the years before he was arrested on 70 child sex abuse offences. Child safety advocates say it was a missed opportunity to remove the accused child predator from the sector and protect countless children.
Hayden Glaister still can't comprehend his 6-year-old daughter was in the care of an
I still think I look fat in that shot.
accused child rapist.
We've had to have conversations with our daughter that no parent should have to have, let alone at 6 years old. We have had to try and tiptoe around a situation, which thankfully she's a very mature little 6-year-old. But at the same time, these are not conversations that I want to be having.
She's one of 1,200 Victorian children who have to be tested for sexually transmitted infections after Joshua Dale Brown was arrested and charged with 70 child sex abuse offences. The 26-year-old is accused of committing horrific crimes against 8 children, aged between 5 months and 2 years old between April 2022 and January 2023.
I don't think any parent can ever fully comprehend that another human being would do that to young children. I think that we as parents placed our trust into these people, and it has unfortunately been broken in the worst possible way.
Now, disturbing new allegations have surfaced. While working for G8 Education 2 years ago, Mr. Brown allegedly aggressively manhandled a child he was looking after. It was reported to Victoria Police, the Commission for Children and Young People and the Department of Education, and referred back to G8 to take action.
Using the Education and CCYP's department's discretion not to investigate. Why does that discretion exist in the first place? I can understand it for very minor things, but if they're minor things, then the centre shouldn't reach the threshold where they need to report that anyway. If it is something where the centre feels the need that there is mandatory reporting, there should be mandatory investigation. It's really fucking straightforward.
Mr. Brown was issued with a formal warning and put on a performance improvement plan. Then he went on leave for 3 months. Less than a year later, he was reported again for raising his voice at 3 children and forcibly grabbing 2 others. Again, the matter was referred back to the childcare operator. Mr. Brown was suspended and eventually resigned. But he went on to work at another 10 childcare centres before being arrested in May.
I'm furious about that. The simple fact of the matter is that any one of those substantiated allegations should have, in my understanding, triggered a working with Children's Check review. So that means that there is a possibility that this could have been picked up a year and a half earlier.
Victoria Police insisted he wasn't on their radar.
Brown was not known to police prior to this investigation. However, as soon as we identified his alleged offending, he was removed from the community.
There is absolutely no doubt that this is a missed opportunity, 2 of them, in fact. I mean, the reason why that's inappropriate behaviour and why it should be reported is because it's inappropriate behaviour. And any kind of inappropriate behaviour needs to be actioned, and it wasn't. This is a complete failure on behalf of government, not enough funding, we are not prioritising the safety and wealth and well-being of children.
The Victorian government has launched a rapid review into the state's childcare sector, which is due to report back by August 15. But child safety advocates aren't convinced it will change anything. They say they have little confidence in one of the 2 leaders spearheading it. Former South Australian Premier Jay Weatherall is leading the inquiry, despite his government's damning response to child protection failures in South Australia. In 2010, he was forced to apologise after parents weren't told an after-school carer was arrested over the sexual assault of a 7-year-old girl.
The terms of reference are very clear. This investigation is underway. This investigation needs to happen so that we can then respond to the recommendations that will be made by this review.
This is not an issue about...
How about you be fucking proactive? I'm sorry, but if you can look at look, if I'm looking at a building that's on fire, it's pretty obvious what's going on. And I'm pretty sure that I could either, get a hose to put the fire out, maybe grab a fire extinguisher. Not wait until the fire is out, wait for the fire inspector to go in and say, these are the things that could have been changed. Here's how the fire could have been put out earlier. I'm pretty sure there are a number of things that can be done before the review comes back. Is that fair, or am I being unreasonable there?
That's fair.
Really put you on the spot with that one, didn't I? Why are they saying it's about funding? It has nothing to do with dollars do their fucking job. My understanding is that they reckon that they're so underfunded that they don't have sufficient individuals to investigate the complaints, because there are so many complaints that they are snowed under, which to me says that there's other systemic issues that need to be addressed. But the fact of the matter is that they had any number of reports over the last, 6, 7, 8 years that they could have been acting on. And yet the government is sending money overseas. They're throwing it into renewable energies. They're throwing it into anything except the things that matter the most. The Captain Hindsight from South Park. They can choose to respond and therefore choose not to implement anything. Yep.
Politics. This is not an issue about finger pointing. This is an issue about guaranteeing the safety of every Australian child who attends a childcare centre, wherever they may be.
But it's cold comfort for parents nervously waiting on STI test results for their children.
When this is the safety of our most vulnerable, who dropped the ball and why? That's what I want to know, because there's any number of kids now that are in this situation that could have been prevented.
The largest ever war games between Australia...
I love how she just immediately segued directly into the AUKUS training with the American fleet that was the American ships that were here. Like, not even a heartbeat. She just goes straight into it. Consummate professional. Attitude of the media and the government spokesperson make it sound like it's a one-off. What are the chances that Joshua Dale Brown's a unique anomaly in the daycare system? In the last few days, with other individuals being arrested in other centres in other states, it's very clear that he's not an anomaly. He's not a one-off. Okay, now we're starting to get into the more recent stuff. This was a couple of days ago. Hang on. How many takes did that take since we know you can't talk or not use profanity? Fuck you, Stingy. Oh, hang on. Just realised I'm not actually sharing the video.
Victoria's childcare crisis is deepening with yet another facility added to the list of centres Joshua Brown worked at. Tyra Stowers has the latest. Tyra, this only adds to parents' anguish.
And as you would expect, Mike, now today G8 Education have...
It took me a second to realise where this one is. That's Colebrook in the background. That's the shopping, that's the Coles complex.
Hmm.
I know I shouldn't be shocked, but seeing it sort of hits home.
They're doing the rounds of the suburb.
Well, it's that there were so many of them here in Point Cook and the western suburbs, and like, I mean, the longer I spend thinking about this, the more it sort of hits home, and I think that's why I reached that point the other day where I was just sick to my stomach. So.
Confirmed to us that the accused pedophile did work here at the World of Learning Centre in Point Cook around 2 years ago. Now, staff believe that this was only for one day on the 24th of August in 2023.
Yeah, but it's the ones where it was only there for a day that I'm almost more concerned about. Because like what I'm gathering from the mentality that he had to have had was that he took the opportunities when he saw them. And if it was a centre that he thought he was never going to go back to, I'm concerned that there's a possibility he went, oh, I'm here for a day, I'll probably never be back. Let's see what I can get away with.
If he's only there for a day, then theoretically, what were the chances of him ever being unsupervised? Because he can only do those sorts of things when no one's watching.
Well, I mean, if they're that understaffed, then I would say it's higher than usual, isn't it?
I don't know. My understanding is that when you've got someone that's very new and someone that's casual that just comes in, you tend to supervise them a little bit more. That's my understanding of it. It's more the permanent staff that you sort of build up a bit of a rapport with, that it's like, oh, no, they can handle that. That's fine. They'll be fine on their own.
Okay.
The latest centre, in addition to the 4 revealed yesterday, brings the total number of centres Joshua Dale Brown worked at to 24 so far. Police have received more than 270 Crime Stopper reports.
See, I told you, they keep using our damn photo.
Since Brown's charges came to light, and police are warning this number is likely to rise. The parents of 800 Melbourne preschoolers have already been told to get their children tested for sexually transmitted infections. A parents' advocacy group has also launched a petition in the wake of these revelations, calling on the federal government to expand the childcare subsidy. Now, it would give parents the freedom to use the funding for nannies or grandparents.
That wasn't a flattering angle.
Things like having a national educator register so that we actually know where educators are and where it is possible to see when someone is moving around and having very short stints in particular places.
What I say to parents across the country is that more needs to be done to keep our kids.
There were comments from people that supposedly went to school with him on social media.
Yeah, I've seen one from someone that went to school with him that said he was very, very odd.
You know what? I'm not going to even bother qualifying that one.
Safe in early education and care.
Now, this comes as 2 female childcare workers.
With all those reports, he would have had to have been selling to someone higher up. Well, my understanding is that the only reason that he got caught up is because the other guy was also caught, and it is part of a larger ring, is my understanding. I have no real basis for that because I haven't fully released any details, but my understanding is yes. And that's sort of why, like, people have said to me, oh, well, you know, if he was gay, does that mean that she was fine and nothing ever happened? And I was just sort of like, well, No, because my understanding is that there are other individuals involved, so there's a good chance there was swapping of material between individuals. And it's horrific, honestly, to even remotely think about.
Workers have been charged over the alleged assault of a 17-month-old boy in Sydney in an unrelated case. Mike?
Tyra Stowers in Point Cook. Thank you, Tyra.
He was caught tangentially,
Yes.
but yes, basically by accident. This is more children urged to test for STIs amid growing list of childcare centres that employed accused pedophile Joshua Brown. Police have confirmed 4 more childcare centres in Melbourne where the accused pedophile worked, with more children now recommended to get testing. Horrific allegations against Brown, 26, were made public earlier this month, when police revealed that he had been charged with more than 70 offences involving 8 children at the centre in Point Cook. At the time, police said that Brown had worked at 20 centres between January 2017 and May 2025. As part of an ongoing investigation on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, police confirmed Brown had worked at 4 additional childcare centres during that time. Police had initially said Brown worked at Papilio Early Learning at Hoppers Crossing. I might have already covered this. And March 12, 2025. However, this information has been revealed as incorrect. He was never employed there. Employment dates for 10 childcare centres where he worked have also been updated with new information published on the government's website. Agencies are in the process of contacting the families who have had children placed at the 4 new impacted centres during the time of Brown's employment. Where additional dates have been identified, impacted families have been contacted by the Department of Health from 15 July 2025. It goddamn better have been via text or email. I swear to God. The very fact that people were receiving letters in the post a week and a half after this made the news is fucking reprehensible. During the update, the state's health department says it will now be contacting 830 additional families, recommending 800 of them be tested for STIs. That's in addition to the 1,200 that Scarlett was part of. This is obviously a highly distressing situation. I want to reassure all families being contacted that the potential risk of exposure to an infectious disease for the child remains low. A recommendation for testing.
That's the problem. That's what people are harping on about. Well, it's not unfortunate, but all the tests thus far as we are aware, have returned a negative reading, which, yes, is good, but we're also talking about the ones that where there is alleged material. So if someone returns a negative reading, it's not necessarily reassurance for the parents that something hasn't occurred.
No, and that's the horrific part about it. And I had that conversation with someone today because he... Like, I said it last week. The only thing that would have come through those tests is if there had been a positive result, we would have known for sure that he had done something to our little girl. The fact that it's come back negative and that pretty much all of the other tests have come back negative, unfortunately, is never going to be a reassurance for us. Because as a result of that, short of him giving a full confession to every kid that he touched, we're never going to know. We're never going to know if there's photos of our little girl floating around on the dark web. We're never going to know if anything happened that she doesn't remember. And honestly,
we're not even just talking about direct exposure. It could even be as something like indirect exposure, where children have potentially witnessed the situation going on. That in itself is
God damn, I didn't even think about that. What if a toddler walked in?
Exactly.
Fuck.
We're not just talking about situations of direct involvement. We're talking about indirect involvement. What happens if they've witnessed it? It's not like they can go home and tell their parents and say, "Oh, mummy and daddy, this is what this person did." A lot of them aren't even talking. They don't know what goes on. They can't understand what goes on. There's so many more elements to this that people just don't understand.
Yeah, and that honestly, a lot of it I do believe is being downplayed, and I don't necessarily believe that that's as a result of any of the specific media, particularly the people that we have spoken to. I think it's just that there's certain aspects that are being downplayed at various levels, basically. And so that's part of the reason why I felt the need to do these videos and to bring Lady Overlaw'd on this time around, because specifically, I think that the parents that are going through this, because I sure as shit know that for a good while I was blaming myself. And to be honest, to a certain extent, I still am. And that's not going to change. She's brilliant. I see why you married her. Thank you. Yes, I'm well aware that I'm punching above my weight class. I know this. And that's saying something given how heavy I am. A lot of the parents out there I know are going to be feeling the same way that we are. And because of the lack of information that's being provided, because of the lack of what I see as the lack of support, I don't want them thinking that they're alone in how they're feeling. You need a wood chipper fund. Trauma, even if one can't recall it, affects the mind and stored in the body, it doesn't go away, which is what I'm genuinely worried about. There remains no wider public health risk, and importantly, the infectious diseases tested for can be treated with antibiotics. Initially, more than 1,200 kids at the centres that he worked for were recommended to undergo testing for STIs, including chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis. Based on the circumstances, our doctor also recommended Hep A through C, AIDS, and what was the other one?
I'm not sure.
I'm positive there was another one.
I think there was, but he did all of them.
Yeah. Police said that they're trying to establish where Brown had worked as it was extremely complex due to childcare providers not having centralised records. I don't think that's a case of centralised records. I think that's a case of shoddy records. Investigators have so far responded to more than 270 Crime Stoppers reports regarding his offending. Acting Commander Janet Stevenson said the investigation remains the highest priority for Victoria Police. We understand people in the community will be feeling shocked and anxious in relation to this matter. We're working through a large amount of information that's been provided to us. I understand there are people who will be frustrated, and I want to reinforce that this is continually evolving and a continually evolving and changing situation. Fresh allegations against Brown were revealed on Sunday by the Daily Telegraph, which reported Brown was previously at the centre of 2 separate investigations. Funny how they said the Daily Telegraph and didn't want to give credit to the ABC. Alicia. Early childhood... Just as a quick side note, like, aside from the individuals that I interact with as part of LawTube or on YouTube, I'm just going to say having the mobile and correct and direct details for big-time reporters here in Victoria or in Australia, it's pretty fucking awesome, doesn't it?
It's not bad.
He aggressively picked up and put down a child and did not hold the dignity and rights of the child in his care, said the email. The allegation was reported by 3 team members. He was given a formal written warning placed on an improvement plan following the alleged incident. He opted to take extended leave after the disciplinary action. He was suspended after during the second investigation and eventually resigned. Both incidents were reported to Victoria Police and the Education Department, and they did fuck all and referred it back to G8. What happened to his blue card, the government funded and controlled thing to help stop this for employment around kids? Well, that would be his working with children check, which... Wait, is that the working with children check, or is the blue card separate? It is
No,
working
it
with children?
is.
Okay.
It is.
Which here in Victoria is pretty much a joke, unfortunately.
Yes.
So here's the updated list. I'm not going to run through all of them. But basically, when we get to... Hang on, where are we? Book.
So,
I can't even fucking see it.
Hang on. You've got... Stop freaking scrolling, you pain in the ass. You've got Nido.
Yep.
Which is June to July. and then he went to Leopold for all of a few days, and then there's one where he was in. Fuck, this guy's been fucking around, hasn't he? Fuck me. I can't even read the
Creative
fucking
Garden isn't on that list.
And probably because that's where he spent the majority of his time.
Yeah, but
What I want
they should still have it on there.
What I want to know is where's the Werribee one?
Nino early learning Werribee's there.
Because my understanding is that from Werribee he went to Creative Garden and he actually got fired from Werribee.
So that would be Nino early learning Werribee, 14th of July 2021, which would make sense because he started in August of 2021.
Yes.
So what so he allegedly was fired from that one.
Yes, there's a report that came out from Nino Early Learning themselves saying that there was reports. It wasn't to do with children. It was about how he was doing reporting or something, and he wasn't reporting correctly. And because that wasn't complying with their policies, they terminated him. So that's why he was only there for such a short period. So he got fired from that centre and then went to Creative Garden.
Okay. And Tankrat, to be honest, there's nothing to say that we don't want blood. We're just... I'm exhausted at this point.
The whole reason we're doing this is because we want blood.
Yeah, basically.
If everyone that I've encountered thus far is talking about the individual. And don't get me wrong, the individual involved is a piece of shit, and I fully expect that he will be held accountable for what he does. But so many other people and organisations enabled that piece of shit, so we want blood from them too.
And no, I get it, Bruce. The reason we were looking at Nito specifically is because that's where he was directly before he started working at our daughter's daycare. And as Mel said, that's the one that he was supposedly fired from and then went to Creative Garden. Which, again, should be something that showed up on his employment history. And, I mean, does that mean that Creative Garden never looked into the reason why he left Nito?
Probably not, because they don't ask questions. They're so understaffed. They don't ask questions. It's like, oh, someone comes along with a Cert 3. Oh, yeah, let's hire them on the spot.
Yeah. Yes, Jem's clarifying. Yes, we do mean getting blood the lawful way.
Yes.
As I've said to pretty much everyone that's from LawTube that's reached out to me, I've said we're taking a moment, we're taking a breather, because there's still information coming out pretty much daily. As soon as everything is wrapped up in a neat little bow, I'm calling in the troops, okay? Another Lady Overlord sound drop. He's a piece of shit. All right, so yeah, so this one was also from the 15th. It's a 5-minute read, and I'm pretty sure SBS just rehashed what was covered in the other one. So I think I'm more open to this one up because I mentioned you again, but I'm pretty sure they just copied the stuff out of the Herald Sun.
Oh, there's been a few that have mentioned me, but they're probably nothing.
All right, SBS is going to take its time doing that. There you go. It was revealed on Sunday that Brown was the subject of 2 separate internal investigations, both unrelated to sexual abuse and occurring after the alleged instance he's been charged after. That's wrong. Who wrote this? The 2 events were substantiated and reported to state authorities, but Brown's working with children certificate remained in place. Melody Glaister's daughter, now 6, attended the Creative Garden Centre Point Cook during Brown's employment. She told the AAP, that's where they got it from, your call with the AAP, that she was furious to learn the earlier abuse allegations and outraged that he was allowed to retain his approval to work with children despite them. If the appropriate action had been taken, it was very likely there would have been hundreds of parents right now that wouldn't be in the same situation. I can't with that. Oh, that's right. So Jacinta Allen wasn't available on the day, so they had the acting premier, Jacqueline Symes, on this past Monday. They asked her about it and why the complaints hadn't triggered him to lose his working with children check. She declined to comment on why he was allowed to continue working with children, citing the ongoing police investigation, which, fair enough, is an ongoing police investigation. I do not believe that should be a reason to not comment on that, because that is irrelevant to the ongoing police investigation. That's an administrative decision that was made by a government department. That is not directly related to him committing sexual acts against children. Will you guys be reporting after court appearances? I'm still hoping to attend the court appearances. There's probably not a lot of point to going to the 15th of September one, because as I understand it at this point, there's a good chance it's just going to get held over for another month, maybe two, because as I said, there's still shit coming out each day at this point. I was saying you don't want blood. I just don't think I'd be able to stream and talk about this. You guys have a better handle than I do. Tankerat, there's a reason I've been offline for the most part for the last 2 weeks. Honestly, we were both a wreck. Sounds like political speak for we're not admitting fault in this matter. There's a reason they don't want the review looking at the government departments. Glaister called it a... They didn't even say Ms. Glaister, just Glaister. Called it a systemic failure, having multiple parties to be held accountable. Saying multiple parties must be held accountable. She described the past 2 weeks as a whirlwind, adding that she never imagined her child would have to undergo testing. I can't fathom how I'm in a situation where I've had to get my 6-year-old tested for sexually transmitted infections. Not something any parent should ever have to go through. This should never have happened. And then they've got the numbers for the Lifeline support and the self-eating support line and Kids Helpline. Remember when I said you went international? Here's you on the New Zealand news.
Oh.
Parent slams
I
system
made it
after
all the way
accused
to New
Melbourne
Zealand.
abuser. Yep. A mother whose daughter attended a childcare centre where an alleged sex offender was employed says the system that approved working with children's checks is failing. Joshua Dale Brown was charged with more than 70 offences against 8 alleged victims younger than 2 at the Point Cook Centre that we know of, allegedly. The 26-year-old was subject to 2 separate internal investigations, both unrelated to sexual abuse, and occurred after the alleged incidents he'd been charged over. Again, that's incorrect. The internal investigations... Oh, hang on, were they?
What does it say? The 26-year-old was also the subject of 2 separate internal investigations at GA Education, both unrelated. Yeah, that's correct.
One of them was after, one of them was during, I think. Because one of them was January 2024.
They both occurred after, because the alleged period of the sexual offending was 2022 to very early 2023.
Okay, that's fine. So that means that I wasn't wrong in what I said in terms of he could have been caught a year and a half earlier. That just means that okay, so that's where I screwed up. All right. Yeah, it was. They basically parroted it because you told the AEP, the Associated Press, that she was furious to learn that about the earlier abuse allegations. Point is, you're international. Oh, which reminds me, I didn't open the Washington Post article because you made it to America as well.
Oh, well, there you go.
Pass it off to Lifeline. I know, right?
Yes, that's what it is, actually.
At the very beginning, but I hope the Victorian government smartens the hell up because holy crap. Oh, DK Cripple. Once you get down to it, yeah.
More than 8.
Oh, all right. So we're getting into some of the more long ones, but we're almost done. We've got 4 or 5 more things, and then we're going to call it a night, peeps. I'm so dumb. I was confused about how the quote was from you because your last name's Overlaw'd.
Additional families. Meantime, more than 800 additional families are today waiting on the results of testing for sexually transmitted diseases, with concerns their children may have come into contact with an accused daycare predator. Police added 4 more centres to a list of Joshua Brown's known workplaces. Education Minister Jason Clare has warned any sex offenders found.
Sorry, DK Cripple's going through it all in the past, and like, honestly, just wait.
Guilty will end up behind bars.
Parents have been put through the ringer in Victoria. A lot of mums and dads this morning are fearful and anxious. More kids have to be tested and go through the trauma of blood tests and urine tests. What I say to parents across the country is that more needs to be done to keep our kids safe in early education and care. I've been pretty blunt about this. Some steps have been taken, but more needs to be taken, and it needs to be taken faster. Next week, I'll introduce legislation into the Parliament to cut off funding to childcare centres that aren't up to scratch. You know, the biggest weapon that the Australian government has to wield here is the funding that we provide to childcare centres. It's about $16 billion a year. Childcare centres can't run without it. And if centres are persistently not meeting the sort of standards that mums and dads expect and that our kids deserve, then we've got to have the power to cut that funding off.
Not meeting the standards that we expect. Are you serious? Allegedly exposing children to sexual abuse. You're damn right you're not meeting expectations, mate.
And there's the fact that most, if not all, I'm pretty sure it's all, but most, if not, of these centres are all for profit. Bring a friend if you go to somewhere that you can actually lay eyes on this thing. A good mate will keep you from doing something bad, or will do it for you if he's a great mate. Lady Overlaw'd said she wants to come to court with me. I'm still not 100% sure that the court's going to be open. I'm kind of hoping that maybe one, if not more, of the news reporters that we've talked to might be able to lend me a badge for the day. But look, guys, if it's open, I'm going to be there. If it's on Zoom, I'll be there. I want to look him in the face. I want him to see me more than anything else. Up to scratch. That's a phrase. Never heard of it. Yeah, basically just means you're meeting the standards, basically. Do they not do background checks? They're supposed to. Apparently, they just didn't do appropriate background checks.
Of parenting advocacy group, The Parenthood, and she joins us now. Georgie, thanks so much for joining us. As we mentioned earlier, in new developments, 2 female childcare workers have just been charged with allegedly assaulting a 17-month-old boy they were looking after.
Jesus Christ.
There have been calls, as we know, over the last couple of days to ban male childcare workers. Clearly, with these new allegations, this is not a gender issue.
No, it's not. And look, thank you so much for having me on. And I just have to say that, you know, I run an organisation that represents over 80,000 parents and carers, and the distress among parents at the moment is just so significant and profound. And I do just want to say that I see and acknowledge that distress. Obviously, we know that for far too many families in Victoria who are directly impacted, this is just exponentially worse.
I get she's trying to do something good here, but did that just rub you the wrong way the same way that it did me?
To be perfectly honest, I'm looking at that little kid's suit, and I really, really want one. Because
it's got the platypuses on it.
Oh my goodness,
You're the one that keeps putting off having another kid.
Well, I can't put another kid through childcare, can I? Because now this freaking ruined me. But oh my gosh.
Fair call.
Oh.
But the allegations that we're hearing about and the additional abuse, neglect cases that we're seeing right around the country, it's giving a lot of parents cause for genuine concern about the safety of their children. And that is just an incredibly difficult position for parents to be in. One of the messages that I've heard from parents a lot over the last couple of weeks is that so few families in Australia have got genuine choice when it comes to how they combine their work and care responsibilities, because we know that a household being able to keep afloat on one income is a very privileged luxury position. That's not the position for most households, and that means you do need to rely on some form of early education and care when you've got young children. And so not feeling like parents have got true choice, I think, compounds the distress that they're experiencing now.
Georgie, you make such a great point there. And in regards to, I'm glad you've acknowledged the industry is full of wonderful childcare workers. How do we make sure we protect our children? Because to me, this has been a failure for a number of years of both sides of governments. And they knew about the cracks in the system because of the Royal Commission and the recommendations.
And that's the bit that they've known that there were problems. They knew that there were holes, there were leaks sprung in the dam for years, and both sides of politics decided to ignore it.
Yeah, look, that is right. And what we do have in Australia is an early education and care system where most services are meeting high standards. The quality framework that we have in Australia is actually...
Platypus.
Burberry says it comes in kids' sleep onesies as well.
I want this. I want this thing. Like, I need this thing in my life. God, that was so damn cute.
What are you going to do? Put it on the cat?
I will find something to put it on.
Well, I suppose there's enough stuffed animals in the house.
Regarded as world leading, but a quality framework doesn't mean anything if we haven't got regulators that are funded and able to actually enforce those standards. And what we're seeing here is that while the vast majority, like 99% of early childhood educators are doing an exceptional job, we know that they have been some of the lowest paid workers in the country, which is actually connected to this issue, because when you've got a lower paid workforce, staff turnover is a lot higher. And that actually does create a particular risk in early education and care, because it creates circumstances where you can...
It is kind of stupid. Like, I've said this before. Why the hell childcare workers and teachers are some of the lowest paid people on the planet? Like, we are literally giving these people our most precious resource. And honestly, I thought that by going to a private company one, that they would have been better funded, that they would have been better staffed, and that they would have been better trained. Fucked that one up, didn't I?
Have the sort of alleged perpetrator types being able to get in and navigate through multiple services, because there are staff shortages and people need to fill them, and there is a reliance on casualised workforce. And, you know, one of the things that the Parenthood has been campaigning for a long time is for wage rises for early childhood educators and early childhood teachers, because we have to recognise and invest in their professionalism so they are able to stay and continue developing and use their experience every year to not just benefit the children in those services, but also the other colleagues around them. And this is, you know, you're right to say this is a systemic failure. We do have a system in Australia that is so complicated and fragmented. We've got states that are responsible for delivering preschool. We've got the federal government, which funds the childcare subsidy. We've got states that are responsible for regulation. There are more than 5 schemes operating at the moment around reportable conduct. All of this, every single additional layer in this picture creates a degree of risk, because it means...
Holy crap, she goes for another 2.5 minutes.
Bloody hell.
This is when you know you're supposed to, like, interrupt, basically. Oh, hang on. Yeah, no, it's near enough to two minutes.
Maybe move on to the next one.
Oh, I think we're in the next one, so... Yeah, so the next one is from Tuesday, which is the day we got our results. Pay politicians less, they don't need more than 50k a year. I'm all for that. I sat and went through Albanese's budget with Mel the other day, and she was pretty stunned.
Good evening. Melbourne's childcare crisis is widening, with 800 more families caught up in the abuse scandal. Parents are being urged to get their children tested after police listed 4 new centres where alleged pedophile Joshua Brown worked.
Devastating news for another 800 Melbourne families, all told to get their young children tested for infectious diseases. Detectives discovering more centres where alleged pedophile Joshua Brown worked.
It's an outrage to know that he'd been here.
So it's even...
Sorry, just quickly. Crown Target. So they're different branches, but my understanding is that a good number of them are all owned by the same companies. There's at least 2 companies that I'm aware of, G8 Education that runs the Creative Garden Centres and Affinity, which runs the Papillion Centres, I believe.
Yeah, Papilio, yeah.
Papilio. I can't say off the top of my head without looking into it how many of the other ones that he worked for. My understanding is that of the original 20, the 2 companies ran, 18 of them? And that's how he was able to move around.
Yeah.
So I still have to say alleged until he's convicted, to keep from getting sued. You would not believe the conversation I had to have with Lady Overlaw'd prior to starting this stream.
Why?
So that we
I'm
wouldn't get
aware of
sued.
that anyway.
Outright to know that he'd been here.
So it's even kind of instigated us looking at other childcare centres.
Police say between August last year and February this year, the accused worked at Kids Academy in Mickleham and 3 milestone centres in Tarneet, Braybrook and Greensborough. But Papillo and Hoppers Crossing, a previously named site, was taken off the list.
It's been a harrowing experience.
The Gleisters' 2-week wait for their little girl's test results finally ended today.
Oh, it was just a wave of relief. Even just sitting there waiting as he listed off the different diseases. He went through one by one. Each one was a negative. I was still holding my breath right through until the end.
The 26-year-old alleged abuser was reported to authorities in 2023 for aggressive behaviour towards children, but his working with Children's Check was never revoked.
That's unforgivable. That's horrendous. There should have been a review of his working with Children's Check, and that hasn't occurred. And because of that, there are hundreds of families now that are going to be experiencing the same thing that we are.
I do understand the broader questions the community is asking about working with children checks. They form part, as I'm advised, of police investigations.
The health department says testing is a precaution and the risk is low. Cold comfort for parents.
Don't blame yourselves. I personally have been racked with guilt ever since this came out. But we're not the ones at fault here. Is that? Oh, that's just updating with the additional 4, so I'll skip over that one, given that it's now 1:30 in the morning for us. This one's kind of important because I haven't watched this, but this is someone that I was in contact with basically from the very beginning. So this is from the 7:30 report on our ABC, which is our what do you call it? Public broadcast.
I'm glad he is in custody and being charged, obviously. But I feel angry that it's taken that long and it's taken a big toll on families and their children.
For years, parents in Melbourne's western suburbs trusted alleged rapist Joshua Dale Brown to look after their children.
There were signs prior to him being charged that should have been taken more serious. He should have been removed from the sector then.
Tonight, the mother of a 1-year-old baby, who she says was dropped by Joshua Dale Brown, speaks out about the formal complaint made about him 2 years ago while he worked here at Creative Garden Early Learning Centre, Point Cook.
That's not listed as one of the 2 that he received substantiated allegations for.
What? Yes, it is. What did you say?
Him dropping a kid.
Yes.
Is that one of the two?
I've heard
I
that.
did not think that was one of the two that he received substantiated allegations against for.
Yes.
Okay.
But they didn't word it like that. Because if you say in an email to parents that he was investigated for dropping a child, what they said was that he aggressively picked up and put down a child. But what it was dropping a child, as if they're going to call it what it is, though.
That's just fucking devious. Okay.
This is the centre. Police allege he sexually abused children.
Do you know if your son liked Joshua?
He was always crying when we handed him over.
I really do wish I'd been available for this interview to at least contribute to this. I really do.
For legal reasons, we'll call this mother Helen. Her son's treatment at the hands of Joshua Brown sparked an internal investigation into his conduct that took 5 months.
So tell me what happened on that day, on the 4th of April 2023. What happened to your son?
We received a phone call from Creative Garden that an educator in our child's room reported the other educator in our child's room for mishandling our child. This is all we were told. Later on, when we picked up our child, immediately, obviously, we were told that someone had dropped him because this person couldn't settle our child. We later found out that it was Josh who had dropped our child.
What happens after?
Thereafter, I was in regular contact with Creative Garden, trying to get answers, trying to understand what is happening, but also trying to see what is happening with the educator in question, with Josh, because I wanted to make sure that he's removed from the room for good and that he's not allowed to work with children of that age who are unable to walk and talk.
I just can't even with this shit.
But if you notice, if you think it through, when he first started, Scarlett was 2.
Mhm.
Sorry, Little Lady Overlaw'd was 2.
It's fine. Everyone knows her as Scarlett.
And he was in the young children's room at that point. That is sort of where he started off, assisting in the babies and then the nursery 2 rooms. Later on, he started moving into the bigger kids' rooms again, which was then where she was because she was moving up too. Obviously, that has occurred because he wasn't allowed to work with the really young children anymore.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, okay. But then that also brings me to allegedly the allegations of sexual assault took place between 2022 and very, very early 2023. Again, which was when he was allegedly in that particular room with those particular children.
Mm.
It makes sense.
And yes, you can hear Angel. It's long past her bedtime, so she's getting a little bit antsy. Dropping a baby called mishandling a child. The people in charge need to go. Not disagreeing with you. And I mean, look, without potentially getting into defamatory subject here, our dealings with Creative Garden with instances with Scarlett, where there were incidents with Scarlett, particularly the one where she broke her teeth, I mean, the amount of communication wasn't great. The documentation was not great. So would I say that I'm surprised by this? Not particularly. But that's my own personal opinion on the matter.
The next day, Helen emailed the centre. Has there been any progress re the incident at the centre yesterday?
The centre manager replied, "I sent off the documentation to the department for notification and currently completing documentation to send to the CCYP, which is the Victorian Commission for Children and Young People. The educator has been removed from the room during the investigation process and is not being left isolated in rooms with other children."
I was told that Josh was removed from the room whilst the investigation is ongoing. In saying that, I constantly had to chase Creative Garden for information. I wasn't provided with information on a regular basis.
A week later, Helen followed up again, asking, "Could I please ask why there hasn't been an incident report for what happened?" The centre manager replied, "The educator who witnessed the incident is on annual leave."
There were constant excuses such as a staff member was on holiday.
Sorry?
Why the hell does that make any difference?
It doesn't in the
We
slightest.
weren't able to conduct this and this review. Someone else was on leave, which I think, given the seriousness of the incident, is not good enough.
Then, after 5 months of waiting for answers, Helen pleaded for an update on the investigation. On the 17th of August 2023, the centre manager replied, telling her an internal investigation was completed internally. With permission from the Department of Education, the investigation was found substantiated due to recklessness. The team member has been given an official written warning, is completing a performance improvement plan and will not be left in isolation until the performance improvement plan has been passed. The department and CCYP have agreed with this outcome and have now closed the case for us to continue disciplinary actions. What do you know about the investigation that was conducted into Joshua Brown?
I don't actually know anything, and as a parent, this is the worst because there was no transparency in the process.
Do you know what really happened between Joshua Brown and your son?
No, I don't feel I know what happened. I think using a word mishandling is very broad. It's a broad term. To me, it's not clear what that actually means. And causing it later, recklessness, equally is an empty word. There is little definition to these words, and we still don't really know what happened or why.
Should Joshua Brown have been working with children?
No, of course not.
G8 Education operates the Creative Garden Early Learning Centre in Point Cook. The company has more than 400 centres across the country and is one of the biggest childcare operators.
Pretty much, Coke Ferry. And not only that, because it was referred to the government departments, they exercise their discretion and say, yeah, we're not going to get involved with this. You handle it in-house.
Bearing in mind as well that at this point, this is also after the alleged sexual abuse has already taken place.
Mm-hmm.
So you are dealing with a very, very highly disturbed individual at this point. And again, it's a slap on the wrist.
And there you go. So there's the 21 brands. I recognize, so you got World of Learning, Creative Garden. Pretty sure there was a Great Beginnings and a Greenwood there. So yeah, so a number of different centres under these brands.
Last Friday, 7:30 requested an interview with its CEO, Pejman Okavat, to discuss its...
Oh, that's the dipshit that sent the email. Oh, this is why the email happened. They just said that they requested an interview with him.
That's what I said, darling. I said to
I
you...
knew that they had into it and triggered it off. I didn't realise that I thought that they'd asked him questions. I didn't think they'd requested an interview.
Yes, they requested an interview and he denied, and then that's what triggered them to do that email to everyone, because they went, oh, sorry, allegedly, they went, oh, shit, we better get on this before it gets in the bloody media, and then we're really super screwed, allegedly. Fuck's sake.
Look, while we're talking about things that could potentially get us sued, we have a user submission from Stingy, and I in no way endorse this, but I do find it funny.
complaints handling process and its investigation into Joshua Brown. G8 Education didn't answer our specific questions. Instead, the next day, the company sent a
I know how they got this email. Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Shut up.
email confirming that 2 internal investigations had been conducted into Joshua Dale Brown during his employment at Creative Garden Early Learning Centre, Point Cook. The first investigation involved Helen's son. G8 Education admitted Mr. Brown aggressively picked up and put down and did not uphold the dignity and rights of a child in his care by not supporting that child while they were upset. G8 Education said Joshua Dale Brown went on leave for 3 months after the investigation. He then continued to be employed at Creative Garden Early Learning Centre, Point Cook. Then in January 2024, after a second incident, he resigned. But he went on to work at 10 more childcare centres right up until his arrest in May this year.
7:30 contacted both the Victorian Department of Education and the Victorian Commission for Children and Young People. Both refused to comment on previous complaints about Joshua Brown, citing ongoing investigations.
Last week...
Oh, no shit. Were they outside?
Yes.
Did you happen to see anyone talking to them?
No, and we were specifically told that if we wanted to talk to the media afterwards, then we were to not identify ourselves. Apparently the media had asked to be allowed inside and they were denied. And we were told when we got there that it was quite likely that they would be outside.
Okay. So basically, guys, what happened was that some lawyers that were talking about the class action against the individuals, against the centres, I should say, and the companies, held a meeting to basically discuss the potential actions. And Mel can't really talk about it, but I wasn't there, and I'm under no non-disclosure obligations.
Technically, I can to an extent. It's not like I signed anything.
Long story short, there are a number of parents there that were extraordinarily emotional. Probably a good thing that I was not personally there. Yeah, don't dox the parents of these kids. Exactly.
No, it was. You can understand a lot of the emotions that.
Oh no, absolutely. From the sounds of it, if I'd been there, there's a good chance I would have gotten into a fist fight with somebody.
It was highly emotional. It was people were highly frustrated. It was just a lot of different emotions going through people at the same time.
Yep. And look, to be perfectly honest, given that we're going to cover them moving forward with certain things, I don't think we're out of the realm to basically say that in that instance, it was just, can we say what we can about the class action, or should I keep that under wraps?
Well, no, because that's common knowledge now. So
okay, basically
a class action is difficult in the sense that when you're dealing with something like this, it's an incredibly complicated process. There's so many parties involved. There's so many potential defendants involved. The amount of work that would go into it is extraordinary. And yeah. I can tell you that because I work in personal injury, and it is extraordinary. It would take an entire team of people, not just a couple of people. It would take an entire team, or basically small department, to run something of this size. And realistically, all that would happen is that any potential monetary settlement that came out of it would likely just pay solicitor fees because there would be that much work involved. So really, it's highly unlikely that parents would get much, if anything at all, out of that form of action.
So yeah, so it was basically decided at that point that, I mean, at least by that law firm that was involved in that a class action wasn't feasible and they weren't proposing to move forward with it. But they may do on an individual basis, and I understand that as of today, at least 3 families are moving forward on an individual basis.
Family and friends of children impacted by this police investigation into Joshua Brown desperately sought answers at a meeting hosted by law firm Arnold, Thomas and Becker.
Oh shit, they did, so they did actually go ahead and dock some of the families.
No, they at this point, so that there is the ATB staff, they would have been doing that from the door.
Okay.
Families are incredibly angry about information being hidden from them. They're not getting the relevant information out of the childcare centres.
Lawyer Jodie Harris is representing parents who are suing G8 Education.
Parents who have been directly impacted by these alleged offences, who themselves are suffering severely in relation to their own mental health associated with what's happened to their child. They're off work, they're having treatment. It's going to be some time before...
Hey. Some of us can't stop to get treatment. Some of us haven't stopped or will drop.
They may be in a position to trust anyone to care for their child again.
For us, we are constantly questioning our choices with care for our son. It really scars you, and you have a lot of guilt over the choices that you've made in the past. Were there signs that we should have picked up on prior? Should we have acted earlier? Should we have reacted differently? Of course, these are all the questions that most parents affected now are facing as well.
That was interesting. Like I said, I had been in touch with the reporter that was doing that one, and I did not get a opportunity to be involved in that one, which really sucks. Is that the one that came out? One for the day. Oh, here we go. So this one was from yesterday. Alleged sex offender Joshua Dale Brown was sacked by Melbourne Childcare Centre in 2021 before joining another. So this is the one you were talking about.
Yeah.
Alleged sex offender Joshua Dale Brown was sacked from a childcare centre in Melbourne's West after working there for just 3 weeks, it's been revealed. Nido Early School on Thursday confirmed that it terminated Brown from its Werribee Childcare Centre during his probationary period in July of 2021 after he allegedly breached the company's internal policies around handling incident reports. Fuck me, it was incident reports.
That's what I told you, or that's what I was trying to tell you.
You said reporting. I didn't realise it was about incidents. Motherfucker. Brown's termination was first reported by the ABC, and it's not alleged that he engaged in sexual offending at the centre. Nido Early School can confirm that the individual was terminated during his probationary period after working 18 individual days at the Werribee service. This related specifically to unsatisfactory attention by the individual to an incident report concerning a child's behaviour towards another child. The action did not relate to any behaviour by the individual towards a child. Spokesperson said Nido Early School has zero tolerance for non-compliance with their internal policies, no matter how trivial they sound to external parties. We supervise all staff closely with additional attention given to new starters. In this case, the breach of internal policy led to termination. Nido has fully cooperated with the police and other departments. 3 months later, in October of 21, he started working at Creative Garden Early Learning Centre in Point Cook, where police allege he sexually abused children in his care between 2022 and 2023. Creative Garden Early Learning Centre is owned by G8, which last week confirmed it had twice reported his conduct to authorities between October 21 and February 2024. And yet you continued to employ the motherfucker. Neither report involved allegations of sexual abuse. Well, I'm going to skip over that because we've only so many times I can read those words. Victoria Police, the Commissioner for Young People and the Education Department were notified, but the matter was referred back to G8 for internal investigation and disciplinary response. Internal investigation resulted in a formal written warning and a performance improvement plan. Hey, Tom Nash. Yes, it is absolutely time to dust off the wood chippers. They said Brown resigned from his employment in G8 during the investigation. The second time around, he did not return to his employment. The company said that there was a need for national harmonisation of policies, regulations, systems, and processes across governments and regulators across Australia. Way to put the blame on the government. Are the privacy laws in place creating an issue identifying perps? Only in certain circumstances. In this case, the order covering his identity was lifted by the police, of all people. Working with the health department, they identified a list of childcare centres that he worked at between 2017 and 2025. At his known employment dates, urging the parents of approximately 1,200 and now an additional 800 to test their children for potential sexually transmitted diseases. Obviously, high distress, blah, blah, blah. Police have warned further updates are likely in the coming weeks. So this isn't anywhere near being over for us.
It won't be over for us for a long time.
I would like a decent night's sleep at some point, though. Police have warned further updates are likely in the coming weeks. They said establishing Brown's complete work history being extremely complex as childcare providers do not have centralised records. The Federal Education Minister said the situation highlighted the need for a national registry of childcare workers. The Victorian government had already committed to developing its own database within months, citing the frustratingly slow federal response. The acting Premier, Jacqueline Symes, said that the latest developments have shocked and distressed Victorians, and rightfully so. I'm so sick of the political pandering. Like, guys, I think I showed it in the previous stream. That first video from I think it was from the press conference when Jacinta Allen just started what I consider fake crying, and I was like, words that I'm not allowed to say on YouTube. Read your post, link to your channel, and noticed that the table in the article had a number of places that he was hired at all for all of one day. So Kiwi Green, so all of the different centres are owned by the same company, and it wasn't that he was hired by them, it was that he was jumping between the centres, all still effectively under the same payroll. Do we know if those places ran background checks and rejected him, or if there's anything in the background? No, it's basically he was covering here, there, everywhere for a day or so as they needed him, allegedly. Is there a reason why law enforcement wasn't contacted? They were. Vic Police, in both instances, were contacted.
Or at least that's what we're told.
Yes. And because it was referred to the Commissioner for Young People and the Department of Education, and they referred it back for internal, the police closed the case and it was not investigated any further. Which is completely ridiculous. All right, so this was from 5:45 today. So this is basically the newest news. We're almost up to date.
3 families are preparing to take legal action over alleged child abuse by accused pedophile Joshua Brown. Law firm Arnold Thomas and Becker will lodge the suits on their behalf against G8 Education, which operates the Creative Garden Early Learning Centre in Point Cook. More than 250 other families have also been in touch with the firm about their legal options.
Lawyers are preparing to... hang on, let me just double check that I'm not just... Yeah, no, there's more to it. Okay.
The alleged killers of 2...
Oh, fuck off. Lawyers are preparing to launch legal action against the childcare giant on behalf of families who were allegedly sexually abused by accused pedophile Joshua Dale Brown. Law firm Arnold Thomas and Becker today announced that 3 Melbourne families were launching separate claims against G8 Education, with the first suit to be filed as early as next week. Joshua Dale Brown's been charged with 70 child sex abuse offences pertaining to 8 alleged victims who attended Creative Garden between April 22 and January of 2023. The alleged victims were aged between 5 months old and 2 years. That we know of, allegedly, in Minecraft. G8 Education owns and operates Creative Garden, Early Learning Point Cook, as well as several other centres caught up in the police investigation into Brown. Legal proceedings are expected to be lodged in the Supreme Court. They skipped the county, went straight to the Supreme.
Of course they did. You're not going to issue that in county.
Look, I'll agree to disagree with you on that only because you've got more personal injury experience than I. If I did this as a civil tort complaint, I would have started in the county court because it allows me an additional avenue of appeal if I'm not happy with the judgment.
For something like this, when, like, how can you fail, basically, for something like this?
I didn't say anything about failing. I said that if it came back and the judge gave me an insufficient amount of damages, I would want to be able to appeal it.
I think they're pretty confident at this point.
Can the owners and anyone else should have known be prosecuted criminally? Probably not at the moment. Not on the information that's been made publicly available anyway.
What was that?
Someone asked whether or not the centres or the individuals in the centre that should have known better could be prosecuted criminally. I mean, if they supposedly reported stuff, then...
Well, hang on, because on that, technically speaking, and so this is where my expertise comes in, technically speaking, he was an employee, which means theoretically, because something of this magnitude has come to light, surely WorkSafe are going to get involved.
I would think so, but that's not the same as...
No, well, but if they can find that something transpired within that centre that they didn't adhere to policies, procedures, etc., then technically speaking, there can be potential for criminal actions from the employer.
Okay.
But WorkSafe would have to bring that.
Okay. And to answer your question, Tom Nash, don't think it didn't cross my mind. But if anything happens to him, I can 100% say that I had absolutely nothing to do with it. More than 250 families whose children attended the centres where Brown worked have approached ATB, according to the firm. The firm said they're still receiving at least a half a dozen calls every day for impacted parents assessing their legal options. Jody Harris, who's leading the legal proceedings, said many parents and caregivers were really struggling. The level of trauma has been quite intense. You really see the scale of the impact that one person has had. Some families are unable to return to work because they can no longer entrust their children to childcare. Others are grappling with ongoing uncertainty, fear, and guilt. On Tuesday, Victoria Police confirmed 4 additional centres where Brown worked. Right. And that's just the Herald Sun article. It covers pretty much the same stuff. All right. Is there anything else that you would like to discuss or add to this?
Not specifically, but no, my beef at this point is with the centre. Because how else does something like this occur for such a long period of time? It seems like everyone is just after the individual, but there's many more organisations involved in this, in my opinion, allegedly.
I think that's really the issue, is that, as you said, and I've said it a couple of times now as well, the simple fact of the matter is that one way or another, he's going to get his justice. One way or another. But the individuals that enabled this to happen, whilst they may be running scared and maybe allegedly their share prices have tanked or whatever else, their accountability and their responsibility for it can't just be ignored. It can't be swept under the rug, and it cannot be allowed to continue. So,
You know what I was thinking about?
what's that?
So we know that the alleged period of the offending was, what was it, 2022 until... That's a little bit too zoomed in there, darling. Thank you. No one needs to see my lines. Or would you...
Come on, I got to inject
You're
a little
so
bit of
annoying.
levity into it.
You're so annoying. I haven't even done my Aussie shit yet, have I?
No, but that's fine. Bush already fucked off.
Oh, okay. Well, when he comes back, I'll do my Aussie shit for him. What was I saying?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, so like what I've been thinking about, the alleged period of offending is what, 2022 until very, very early 2023. So a reasonably significant period of time. There's allegedly 8 directly impacted children that we know of, where allegedly multiple video footage has been found.
Photos, video evidence of action, 70 instances against 8 children. Yes.
So think of it this way. How does someone in a centre where, generally speaking, a childcare centre, there's quite a lot of foot traffic that goes through, there's educators that come in and out, there's parents picking up kids, dropping off kids, etc., food gets delivered throughout the day, blah, blah, blah. The amount of planning, theoretically, and thought processes, etc., the amount of knowledge that this sick, perverted, alleged person has to be confident enough to be able to allegedly engage in that kind of sick act and not get caught.
Look, I will push back on that slightly, if only to say that the alternative is that he was so unsupervised that it took almost no planning at all for him, and he just took the opportunities as they arose.
But that's what I mean. It's like theoretically, Angel, theoretically, I was going to say something else then, but I won't. Theoretically, bring up that other guy's face now.
Other guy's face? Wait, where did my camera go? What happened there? Which other guy's face?
I did not have sexual relations.
The one that allegedly wants to fuck the goat.
Oh, shit, I don't know that I've got a readily available image of him. I closed all the things.
You're not missing much.
Oh, shit. I completely skipped over one of the articles. Hang on. So this one was in relation to the guy that's been appointed for the childcare review here in Victoria. So this woman, Denise Soester, is actually a parent from South Australia. She was one of the ones that allegedly was, shall we say, let down by the then South Australian Premier and his review into their childcare issues. And the reason I bring this up is because it's one of the few places where I actually got quoted.
No, but you read out your entire thing.
Oh, yes, I probably don't need to worry about it, do I?
That they didn't actually put all of it in.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll just... Oh, hang on, no, because here's his actual apology.
Report
describes a child protection agency which is overwhelmed by the volume of this challenge. Child abuse and neglect is, by its nature, intergenerational and is, by its nature, not unique to South Australia. And the fundamental truth which lies at the heart of this and every child protection system everywhere in the world is that the protection of children has to be everybody's business. We failed to protect the children left in the care of Shannon McCool. We failed in our responsibility to keep these and other children safe from harm. And we failed also to respect the carers who have devoted their lives to helping us. For all of these failings, I am sorry.
But you know, let's give this guy a second chance and let him be the one to decide how to fix the Victorian childcare system. This dude was in charge of South Australia between 2011 and 2018. And they had a massive childcare scandal as well. Melbourne dad Hayden Glacier said he was appalled by the news of Mr. Weatherall's appointment, which he described as a hello gesture to placate rightfully outraged parents, rather than a serious effort to address the horrific failures that allowed these crimes to happen. As a parent of a child at Creative Garden during Joshua Brown's employment, I'm furious with the failures of the childcare system and the authorities tasked with its oversight. He also raised concerns about Mr. Weatherall's Labor Party affiliation, saying parents needed proper investigation and reform, not potential political manoeuvring. Our children, Victoria's children, deserve the best possible protection, and as it stands, I don't believe the review will do that. And see, they still put your fucking video in there. I couldn't have one article to myself. Anyway. Exactly. It's not apologize and move on. Exactly. So, look, guys, as I said, this isn't going away anytime soon for us. I'm going to try and be as normal on YouTube as I can, but obviously Lady Overlaw'd and I are going to have to... there's probably going to be more of these streams where we do updates. Hopefully it's not going to be as frequent because hopefully there won't be more information coming out every single fucking day to the point where we're overwhelmed and it takes us almost 4 hours to go through everything. Yeah. Need Dung to uncover the network. It's obviously going higher up too, and I'm not okay with it. It's a disgrace. Abso-fucking-lutely. For those of you that haven't watched the original stream, give me a day or so if you do want to go back and watch it, because I'm planning on downloading it, fixing the audio, because I didn't realize at the time how badly my mic was peaking. So I'm well aware that it's horrific to listen to, but I will re-upload it as a video with properly fixed sound, and then that'll be the next day or so anyway. But I do want to thank each and every one of you for sitting through this with us. It has been an absolutely harrowing experience over the last 2 weeks, and frankly, I'm not sure how between the pair of us we're both still standing. So, but we're going to keep doing what we're doing, particularly to be a voice for these kids, and insert something inspirational and heartwarming here. You got anything you want to add, sweetheart?
No, I'm sure there'll be another stream at some point with more updates, as they seem to be coming thick and fast. So,
Fortunately. But anyway, peeps, as always, please remember, you, unlike certain people we've been discussing tonight and certain government agencies and certain companies, are not a piece of shit. You do have value and do contribute to society, especially for everyone being here. Also, please remember that with YouTube's new update, apparently engaged views count more than just putting the video on and walking away. So please, for the love of God, hit the like button. Feel free to share the video out. And
for me. Just do it for me.
That works too.
And can I just add, Just because I'm really worried over that other certain individual.
Nope, absolutely not. You can't.
Please, everyone, bring your animals inside. Allegedly, bring your animals inside. Keep them safe. Fuck me. Because we need to protect our poor animals too from allegedly fucking sick freaks.
I don't know which inappropriate video to end on.
Hey, you okay there, Mr. Crocodile? Huh? Wake up, wake up, wake up. You need some lotion, Mr. Bad Skin? Huh? Huh? Yeah, there you go. Ah! 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 Oh, God! Oh, God!
Shit, where's the outro? Wait, did I delete the outro? Oh, feck it. Oh, no, there it is.
And again, on your way out, please do me the favor, hit the like and subscribe button if you're so inclined. It costs nothing. It's absolutely free, and we'll be friends forever. Bye now.
Unfortunately, some members of the media
Some members of the media
use their platforms to push their own personal bias. And agenda to control exactly what people think. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Okay, now that she's gone, just very quickly, I hope that you've enjoyed the new sort of video style content that I'm putting out. I'm very much hoping that it'll sort of ease things in, because I'm not quite sure what the streaming schedule is going to be like, at least for a little while, for obvious reasons. But I am going to be trying to put the regular videos out every couple of days, fingers crossed. I know that they're not to everybody's taste, but it would very much appreciate it. It would mean a lot to me if you guys gave them a chance, because otherwise, what the fuck else am I going to do? Peace out, peeps.